Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. This is Comics News Today for the Valentines of 2022. I hope you guys have all had yourself a good little Valentines. Mine was yesterday. I got lots of kisses. I did.
Aw,
Yeah, and that's good.
that's good.
Did you get your mandatory amount of kisses today, Thundero?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Kisses are
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Yeah. And uh Valentine's Day is one of those things that has been around and has been commercialized, of course, but it is an ancient thing, man. It's been around with our people for a very long time, and everyone around the world has some kind of love festival or fertility festival or what have you. I mean, Saturnalia in Rome, of course, that was back around, it was on Christmas. It's the same kind of thing, right?
Mm.
And I know a lot of people like to think that Valentine's Day is named after Saint Valentine. Just don't you love how the Catholics do that?
They're very good at it.
They
They got
are.
that from the Romans.
Yeah, they are Roman. Yeah, they did. It's that bureaucracy thing. But no, Valentine's is named after Beltane. Everybody, and of course, Beltane was well, it was a sex ritual holiday that was attached to the spring festivals. You know, the maypole and all that kind of stuff. Hope you guys have had a good time with your flowers and your chocolates, and of course the kisses. Today we're going to get into talking about comic book stuff. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to share. Hopefully you guys do the same thing. Liking would be good. We're up to 952 on our sub list, which means we'll be getting knocked down to 901 or 903 very shortly. I'm happy about that. Make sure you're still subscribed, I guess. They really don't want us to go over 1,000. They refuse to let us, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how many times have we been near 1,000 and dropped 100, just conspicuously?
I don't even know, to be honest. It's
A
been
lot.
more than a handful.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
for sure.
Oh
It,
well, I
it's very weird. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it, but it does happen consistently. We'll get up to around 980 or so, and then all of a sudden 30 or 40 just disappear like they never even happened.
yeah, no, I
It's
blame you.
very odd. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, yeah. But that's all right. It's not. We're not here for that anyway. So it's just more of comedy to me. All the people I want listening are listening, and that's all that matters. And I'm glad you guys come in here and we have a chat, have a little bit of fun with each other, enjoying comics and entertainment and various stuff like that. It's really cool. Over the past few years, I made a bunch of new friends, and that's awesome, dude. It's awesome.
It's good.
Yeah, it is good. Let's see. Roger says Valentine's Day is just about orgies and chocolate. Yeah. And
Chocolate orgies.
what's
Hey,
wrong with orgies?
what's wrong with a chocolate orgy? That sounds like a good time.
That sounds like a great time, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I found out over the years here, talking about Beltane Festival, which I used to love when I was a young single man, that no one else has gone to them, and I'm the only person who has partaken in multiple orgies. How is that? How
Oh,
is that? How
God.
would that happen?
I don't know. You're a degenerate. I
I
don't know
am.
how else to tell you.
You
Just
guys didn't live your
degeneration all
life,
over.
man. Okay. I love Beltanes, man.
Not all of us are 6'3" Scandinavian gods, Chester. We
That is
can't
true.
all be built like Jack Reacher. All right.
That's fair. That is fair.
Speaking of Jack Reacher, I watched the first episode of that
Oh
because
yeah.
they put out that Reacher show on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's real good.
I got to
I
check it
highly
out.
recommend
Yeah.
it.
I got to
Yeah.
check it out. See, this was kind of why I had my fingers crossed with the Amazon,
Yeah.
because they put out woke crap like Wheel of Time. That's just an absolute disaster. But at the same time, they put out stuff like that.
Yep.
So it's like you never know, right?
They're really hit or miss with old
Mm,
Amazon. But no, so far it's been fantastic. I really like the characterization so far of them. I've never read any of the Reacher books. There's a ton of them. I looked
there
that up.
are. Yeah.
There's like 30 something of them, which is amazing. And it makes me actually kind of want to get into them because if this is the character is very unique because he kind of presents himself at first as just like a quiet brute, but he's not at all. He's very intelligent.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. It's nice. It's nice to see. So far, anyway, they haven't done anything subversive with him, from what I gather, and I like that. I appreciate that. He's just what he is. He's a big guy who just finds a somehow he finds himself in situations, and luckily he has the the skills typically to handle them.
Well, he's a
And it's
Punisher-esque
very
character.
yeah, and it's he's very the violence is there when it's time to get violent. Oof,
Yeah, yeah.
oof,
Well, mix Punisher with Jason Bourne, and you got Jack
yeah,
Reacher, right?
yeah.
I like Jack Reacher books. I've read two or three of them when I was younger. Speaking of that, though, of the Jack Reacher stuff and books. Oh God, my brain just left me. God damn it! I had a point with Jack Reacher. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. The Tom Cruise thing.
Yeah.
He was fine. He's got two Jack Reacher movies, and they're fine. I mean, it's entertaining. But this dude, from watching the trailer, that's what Jack Reacher looks like.
Oh, he's a beast,
Not
man.
Tom Cruise. He's literally a beast who's tear you apart. That's
Yeah.
Jack Reacher. So I'm very happy about that. He looks
He is
perfect.
he is the original definition. Old Jesus, that old guy
Yeah,
in the Bible where he says things like the meek shall inherit the earth, stuff like that.
yeah,
Jack Reacher is meek. He is a very he's a chill guy. He doesn't cause any trouble. He if he wants to, he can literally rip your head off.
yeah.
But he
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
because he has great control.
Oh
So
sure.
like one scene here, him and one of the other main characters get into an argument, and it's getting pretty heated, and the lady cop steps in between them and basically says, "I know people, and I know you're not the type of man to beat up somebody smaller than you unless they give you an actual cause." And he backs off, basically. And it's like, okay, I appreciate that. The very first or one of the very first scenes with him in this show, there's this guy being very aggressive towards his girl, but pretty much basically abusive. He doesn't actually hit her or anything, but clearly he's done this before. And Jack just walks over and just stares at him. And eventually the guy just apologizes to him and gets in his car. Doesn't touch him, doesn't say a word to him, just looks at him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
And
like,
I told Booster messaged me because I told him, yeah, I like the way this show starts. I said, that is some peak masculinity right there. I haven't seen anything like that on TV since the
well,
80s.
Booster wouldn't know anything about peak masculinity.
It's Booster's birthday. You leave him alone.
All right, I will. Birthday, Booster. Is he hit 30 yet? This is 30, isn't
He
it?
did.
Yeah. Oh
30.
wow. Now it's all downhill, buddy.
It
Um,
is. It just nothing
yeah,
gets better, I can assure
yeah,
you.
it doesn't. Well, there's a scene in the Tom Cruise Reacher that's is taken out of directly out of the books, where he's talking about he's surrounded by a bunch of guys and he's talking about how well you only need to drop a couple really hard really quick and the most of the people in a group will or back out. Therefore, I'm not fighting five of you. I'm only going to fight two, maybe three. Right?
Yeah.
That quote. And Tom delivers great. Tom's good at those kind of things, and he sells it. Because Tom's good at that. But
Mhm.
it would feel very different when they do. I'm sure they'll do that scene. When they do that scene with him, because
They do something similar, and yes, it's very yeah. There's a whole other because he's just got the physical presence of it, right? Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
this is not a man anybody in real life would mess with unless they're very, very either overconfident or actually confident in their abilities. He has that, he's a gifted
That
man in
aura.
that regard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's a big, imposing, that's the word I'm looking for, imposing man, but he's actually very sweet and soft, like not like a pussy, but like he's not aggressive or violent or he doesn't actually look for trouble. It just seems to constantly find him.
Well, that sounds like they toned it down a little bit because he is a little bit more brutal in the book, I think.
Oh no,
But
he's
that's okay.
brutal. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. When it comes to him, he does not have any problem striking first, but he doesn't go looking for it. So like at one point, a guy tries to cause a little trouble for him and for one of his buddies, quote unquote. And basically, he just tells him, you're either going to leave or you're going to leave in a bucket. And yeah, he beats the living hell out of the guy. I think he killed him. I don't know. If he didn't, he came damn close
Oh
because
wow.
he pounded his head into the metal frame of the bed. Just
Oh my God.
constantly, like
Well,
6 or 7 shots right to the skull.
Junkyard Don is complaining we're not talking about comic book news. I do believe there is a Jack Reacher comic, guys.
Yeah,
Mentioning another comic book a book series that became a comic and a role playing game and a TV series and all kind of stuff. There might even be a video game. Is Butcher's Dresden Files. Now we got
Yeah,
12, 13 episodes of that, and then I don't know why, but they stopped it because give me more of that, please.
yeah.
You know. But
I
anyway,
love that idea. I love the whole premise of Dresden, a wizard private eye type
yeah,
situation.
it's cool, dude. And
Yeah,
the
that's a
and on
cool
the
idea.
show, I thought was pretty good. The chemistry between him and the various people worked.
Yep.
It's just a little
I
cheapy
remember it.
TV show, so but that's okay. You know.
Yeah, I remember it. It was pretty good. I was a little bummed when they canceled. I was like, "Aw, I
Yeah,
like that show."
yeah. But if it's good, they get rid of it. That's just kind of the
All
rule.
right, we better get to the actual comic books, otherwise Junkyard Dunn's gonna come over here and Jack Reacher my ankle, and I
That's
can't
true.
have that. I
We
need
can't
that
have
ankle.
that. So all right, fine. I'll get to it. All righty then. So all righty. Let me come over here and do like this. And then where's I got to bring that up, and then I got to do
There
this.
he
And
is.
okay, here we go. All righty then.
Underrated character, Doctor Fate.
Absolutely. So was too costly for the viewers it was getting. Thank you for yeah, yeah. Ben, you come in here if you like, dude. Let's see here because he knows comic books really well, actually. But anyway, I'm going to get into my little dissertation here. Doctor Fate. Now, of course, this is Kent Nelson. Now, I know
Yep.
many people have worn the helmet, but I'm going to explain to you why none of that matters here in a moment. Kent Nelson is Dr. Fate. But, people don't really understand this character very well. And the reason why is because he doesn't show up as often as other characters do. And it's the same problem you have with Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And there is a comparison which I will make between the two later because they're both, wizardly people. But they're also plot devices because the power level is off the frickin' chart. So
Yep.
what do you do with him? But let me get into explaining the origin here of Doctor Fate and who he is. Now, uh, of course, I've always enjoyed Doctor Fate when he showed up. He's had a few of his own series. He shows up in a lot of other stuff more often. But I've always liked him, and it's one of those costumes that's kind of iconic that really
Yeah.
works. And can be done in so many different ways, as I'm showing here. This one is probably one of my favorites. Alex Ross did a great one too, kind of the
Mhm.
original JAS version of Doctor Fate. But anyway, his story is very very simple. This is one of the oldest characters in DC. Just keep that in mind. He's 82 years old,
Whew.
coming out in 1940. And his, as you see here on the page, what happens is his father is an archaeologist, and they're working in Egypt, and which is funny because well I'll get to that in a second, but they're working in Egypt, and of course the boy sees this sarcophagus and there's like a lever next to it. Of course, what do? You pull the lever, and of course this releases an ancient kind of space god, and his name is Naboo. Yes, George Lucas is not original. I know. Okay. But anyway, Nabu comes out, and he's actually more of a Mesopotamian god in reality, but I won't get into that. Anyway, he meets this god, and he comes out of the sarcophagus. But as he's going, there was a trap set on it when boy pulled the lever, putting gas in. The god protects the boy, but along the way they find out his dad is dead, and the god takes him outside and helps him bury his father. Now this Nabu feels that kind of responsible for the situation, and he takes the boy on, and he protects him and he teaches him. So a couple of decades go by, and this god here, who is actually one of the lords of order, teaches Kent Nelson. Kent's the name of the character. Magic, and he's pretty good wizard. He's very strong in and of his own right. But then Nabu believes that the boy is ready, so he gives him some relics, and this is when he becomes Doctor Fate. And one of the interesting things about this character that I'll kind of get into the comparison with Doctor Strange because that's inevitable. Doctor Strange has many relics too, right? He's got a lot of magical items he has on him. But what you have to keep in mind is Doctor Strange, when he uses his power, and he is very powerful, he's getting his power from the Vishanti, right? And a couple other entities. So what's happening is they're endowing their power to him. Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, he has artifacts that can do some stuff, but if he doesn't have any artifacts and he's somehow cut off from the multiverse and be able to get energy from these elder gods, he can do nothing, right? He can do nothing. Kent Nelson is a powerful wizard all on his own before he ever gets any kind of artifact in. Then when you drop the artifacts, now you go to a wholly different level of thing. And I'll explain exactly how different that is. And here is him being bestowed with the actual artifacts. There's three of them. There's four really. So let me get into what they are. Now, here we have the Helmet of Fate, and this is interesting because Constantine actually had the helmet for a while. Now, what the helmet is, it actually has the consciousness of Naboo in it, but also inside the helmet is there's a self-contained universe. I mean, literally, a universe is inside that helmet, right? And
Mhm.
this gives him all his magical ability. Now, keep in mind, Kent has his own magical ability. He's a very powerful wizard, but this takes him to god level, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of times with many other characters who've worn the helmet, in between Kent coming back to life or whatever happened, and him giving the helmet back, they only have the power that's inside the artifacts. They don't have any abilities of their own, magical anyway. So this helmet, it can go to anybody. Anybody puts it on, and they will have the powers of Naboo. And usually, he's a real dick to them. By the way,
Yep.
he's not
Yep.
a nice dude. But when it comes to Kent, though, because that's his protege, right? He's very different. But so we, and it was interesting here with Constantine wearing the helmet. It kind of made sense. It was neat. That's why I chose this particular picture with Constantine there in the picture.
That
Uh,
helmet's so cool looking.
it
Like
is
that's
cool, dude.
just that's like you were saying earlier. Just go. Not to I'm trying not to interrupt you, but
Yeah, go
this
ahead.
is
Go ahead.
such a great design. It's so
Hmm.
simple and elegant. Like there's just modern comics, man. They just a lot of them don't have this level of basic artistry. That thing is beautiful. And it's also though, it looks like it could be an ancient style helmet. Like it's
Yep.
not too beautiful. It's not too ornate. It's not too intricate. It has just the right amount. They could have definitely have made this. Metalsmiths could have, 1,000, 5,000, whatever, 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Then it's also just so beautiful. It's just such a. That's one of the things that DC I think does better than Marvel. In all honesty, is some of their when they get it right with their character designs, they're just a league above. They're iconic just in imagery.
Yeah.
And I think Doctor Fate is a great example of that.
It is. It's a great design, and we don't see a lot of good designs these days. Sometimes they catch it, like
Yep.
that Brazilian Wonder Woman that came out from that really good
Yep.
artist lady. I thought that was a good design.
Me
Um,
too.
some of the DC characters that came out a couple years ago that like Rampage and stuff like that that just disappeared. I thought those designs weren't bad.
Yeah.
But whatever. I agree. Now, another thing to get in talking about this helmet, of course, is containing the essence of Naboo himself. It brings us to a conversation talking about who is Naboo. Now, yeah, like I said, he's one of the Lords of Order, and of course, they have an eternal battle with the Lords of Chaos. And Doctor Fate's often entwined in that when it's just his story, right?
Right.
Or somehow involving that. And this is a thing that I think is interesting to touch upon because we've mentioned before the distinct differences between DC Comics and Marvel Comics, right? The big two.
Hmm.
Marvel is much more. People just say simply Marvel is more street level heroes, and DC is more a story about gods. It's
Yeah.
true. But it goes deeper than that. Because another thing DC really plays on a lot, and there's a lot of comics that go on about it. Matter of fact, one of the most popular DC series of all time is about this. In the Sandman, is about the entities of ideas,
Yeah.
death, love, hate, passion, war, whatever. These concepts have been embodied into these gods, which is something humans have been doing forever, right? Is what we do. DC is full of that, and Naboo is an example of that as one of the Lords of Order. It's an idea, it's conceptual, but it also is embodied in actual physical terms. And there's a lot of stuff in DC that does that, whereas Marvel, not so much. Sure, you got Eternity, you have the Beyonders, you have, stuff like this, but the One Above All and things like that. But it's just not dealt with. It's very rare you see them, and they're not built into the day-to-day storytelling of Marvel comic books, where in DC they are, right? They're
Right.
definitely a part of it. So this is kind of the level where Doctor Fate is riding, right?
Hmm.
But anyway, I'll get to that in a second. But this is the helmet of fate. We have the cloak of destiny. I chose this Alex Ross one. Alex is so badass. Now, the cloak of destiny, what it does for anybody who's wearing it, and there are certain people who have the helmet and don't have the cape, by the way. But what it does is makes them super fast, super strong, super stamina, healing factor, or something like that. It's kind of unnecessary, and but it's just the way it's gone over time. But I have to say this though, back in those days before the war, in 30s and 40s, a lot of the characters we know today were created, but they were nowhere near as powerful as they became, right?
Mm.
But Doctor Fate was. From day one, he was literally carrying the power of the Lords of Order, right?
Right.
And So he's kind of interesting in that way. And when they put him out a year, when he came out in his own it wasn't his own comic, it was, but when he came out a year later, I think in 41, he was a founding member of the Society of America, right? And
Hmm.
he was easily the most powerful on that team. And I'll
Hmm.
get back to that in a minute. But none of them, like to say, the Spectre was also on that team, but he was nowhere near as powerful as what he became, right? Doctor Fate is different in that. But anyway, this cloak does make him kind of Superman. Is what it does. And then of course we have the Amulet of Anubis, and this amulet is another piece of his gear that has its own separate universe in it. And this functions as Adam Warlock's soul gem, which of course we know with the Infinity Stones now how that all plays out. But that I don't know if the Infinity Stones came out of the idea of Adam Warlock's Soul Gem, or that came later. I'm not sure the chronology there. But it's the same thing. There's a universe in there, and he can trap you inside of it. Oh, Adi, it's finished. But it's a very powerful device. It's a magical item, just like Doctor Strange has. Um, and
Hmm.
uh, and now I want to kind of, who he is, what he is. He fights entities. He fights for order. He does all kind of things. I want to get into the power level of this dude. Oh, I'm sorry. He has one more item that people usually forget, which I just did, and it's his Tower of Fate, because this thing
Yeah.
is pretty powerful artifact as well. It's rather important and easy to forget, but he also has that. Anyway, so let's move on here. Let me go on to his power level. Now, here you see two of the most powerful people in the DC universe: Superman, Martian Manhunter. Matter of fact, Superman says Martian Manhunter is more powerful than him. And maybe
Yeah.
that's true. In some ways, it probably is true. But I want to explain to you exactly how powerful the Dr. Fate is, and the reason why you don't see him this much. All right? Because not only does Dr. Fate have the ability to travel through universes instantly, travel through time as he likes, move planets with his mind, any single thing you can imagine. That helmet, his magical ability is basically God. Whatever he wants to do, he can do it, and he can do it at an extreme level. His power is such that, as you understand the power of Superman and fricking Martian Manhunter, he beat them at the same time.
Right.
They were both coming at him, and he took them out quite easily. Doctor Fate is a whole nother level of thing, dude.
Yeah.
And it's cool, and it's also not cool because we don't get to see enough of him because of it. You know what I mean? He only comes
Yeah.
up when something when you see Doctor Fate shit is about to hit the fan, dude. It's going to get bad because that's the power he brings in. And another thing to explain how powerful Doctor Fate is, he kicks this guy's ass too.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? the Spectre. But he's toe to toe with Spectre, toe to toe.
Yeah.
And the only reason Spectre defeated him was because Dr. Fate understood that if he didn't die at that moment, magic would be screwed up for a long time and it would be better just to reset it. And of course, he knew he'd come back anyway because he's immortal ultimately. So he let Spectre kill him, right? And Spectre, at that point when they were fighting, Spectre was kind of out of his head, but Spectre was the most OP he's ever been, right? At that moment, and Dr. Fate was handling him, dude, right?
Hmm.
So you got to understand the power level of Doctor Fate. He's very, very powerful. He can do anything he wants, and he works for the Lords of Order in often, although sometimes he finds himself at odds. Some of the people who have worn the helmet have been more at odds with them than him. But it's a really cool character that people don't talk about very much, and I've always liked him. And therefore, that brings us to the ultimate question that anyone who knows this would ask: who's stronger, Doctor Fate or Doctor Strange? Uh, I know
Ooh.
the answer, but I'll let you give your opinion first.
Probably Doctor Fate.
Probably Doctor
I would
Fate.
if I had to guess. Yeah. I mean, I'm not on to be honest. I'm not certain. But I do know that both of them are obscene. Like Doctor Strange at his strongest is obscene, and Doctor Fate has always been obscene. They always have to find different ways of nerfing him
Yeah, they do.
because he's
It's
so
true.
obscene,
Yeah.
which they've done with Doctor Strange as well. But yeah, I'd probably Doctor in like a full on where there's no restrictions on either of their power. Man, I don't know. That'd be a fight. That'd be interesting. It wouldn't even be a fight though because their power is so like esoteric. It's so insane that it would just be almost like a chess match, right?
Yeah.
Where they're just kind of trying to set the other one up to make a mistake, and then bam, they got them.
Yeah.
That
Um,
because otherwise they're not going to beat each other straight out. Like that's just not. I just don't think that would happen. I think what would happen though is Fate would probably get the better of Strange because of Strange's pride,
oh,
and
maybe.
he would
Yeah.
be able to trick him
I see your
into
point.
making a mistake.
Yeah. No, I see your point. Do I have a wild Korlak in here?
I don't think so.
No, okay. Because he would definitely have an opinion on this. But no, here's the actual answer. Doctor Strange would be done in 2 seconds. It's not even close. Because this
Even
thing
at
good.
his strongest.
No, Fate is way beyond him. It's completely different. It's raisins and oranges, dude. It's not even the same level. Doctor Strange is a man. He's very powerful because of what he has access to and a lot of hard work. True. And I think if we were talking about Kent Nelson versus Doctor Strange without the helmet, Doctor Strange would win that. I think he would win
Yeah.
that. I think Kent would hang on for a little bit though. He'd hang on for a little bit, but Doctor Strange would win that. But with all the gear and being the actual Doctor Fate, there because Doctor Fate is a god. He's literally an entity, whereas Doctor
Right.
Strange is a man, right? So I don't think there's any comparison whatsoever. Roger said, I would say after that, Doctor Fate would win. Yeah, there's no question. They're just different levels, and and it's cool to talk about it because I love me some Doctor Strange. He's one of my favorite characters. In fact, I like Doctor Strange way more than Doctor Fate.
Hmm.
One of the reasons is because we get so much more Doctor Strange than Doctor Fate because of the power level. But what's really interesting is looking at these two, the ultra magic characters in the two different universes. It shows you the dynamic and clear difference between what DC does and what Marvel does. Right? Doctor Strange is very powerful in the Marvel universe, but he's a Marvel type of power. Whereas DC goes way beyond the concept of humanity all the time, right?
Right.
So it's really good to compare those two. You can see it's a very clear distinction, the difference between DC and Marvel in that regard. Although I still prefer Doctor Strange because he's cool
Yeah.
looking. Yeah. But you are right about the pride and ego because Kent Nelson doesn't have any of that.
Yeah.
He's completely philanthropic and without any kind of ego or pretense. He is kind of this pure, which is why Nobu chose him, right?
Right. Pure
And
of
you got to
heart.
keep, yeah, and you got to keep in mind that a lot of people that have worn the helmet, other than Kent, didn't really earn it, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Well, that's one problem I had with um, DC recently put out for their new movies coming out. They put out like this little trailer, and our boy is in there, right?
yeah,
Pierce
yeah.
Brosnan is
I'm gonna get
cast
to
to
that,
play him,
but yeah,
which I think is probably the best casting they've ever done.
which I'll do right now.
Uh,
There you go.
and I think that's spectacular casting. I think he's going to do an absolutely amazing job as Doctor Fate. However, from the little bit that we saw, they seem to imply that Black Adam was in any way a threat or a match to Doctor Fate, and I was like, "Excuse me, I
Well,
just don't, I don't believe so, sir.
no,
Sorry
it's
to tell you."
definitely not true. But they nerfed Doctor Strange hardcore in the MCU,
Yeah,
right?
Doctor Fate. Yeah,
Fate will be done the same. Although
yeah.
I think he's going to be more of like a MacGuffin or a seed of information or something like that. I don't know how much he's going to play into the actual story.
I don't either. Basically, what he says to him at one point, it's something to the effect of, "There's a lot more out there. I wish you would help us or join us or something." And I don't know what that means because obviously I have no idea the context of it. But it just seemed like they were saying that these two are on equal footing, and that's nonsense. Obviously, Fate
Yeah,
is
no,
a
that's
whole
of
nother
course true.
level.
That's true.
Yeah,
But they gotta do their thing for their universe. I get it. But
yeah,
and do keep in mind, I will do Black Adam, in one of these deep dives into a character. And Black Adam, I'm not gonna get into it now, but Black Adam is one of the most tragic stories in comic book history.
yep,
Right, and most people don't know anything about Adam other than, oh yeah, Shazam fights him, and sometimes Superman.
yeah.
I mean, that's it. But it's actually a very interesting story, and I hope they pull it off. And this might be the first time that Dwayne Johnson is called upon to be a completely dramatic actor,
Hmm.
because I don't see how you put even a drop of comedy into Black Adam, dude. A single drop.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
We'll see. From what I've seen so far, it doesn't seem to have much or any.
No,
But
it
what
shouldn't.
we've only seen little tidbits. But it seems to be a very serious take on it. The only thing I worry about is they're going to use his tragic backstory to justify him too much and make him into basically an anti-hero. And I don't like that. I think he needs to be a villain. I think he can be an understandable villain, one we sympathize with,
He's a
but
sympathetic villain, yeah, without
he's
question. Yeah.
still the devil at the end of the
Oh
day,
yeah,
right? He
he
still
is.
has to
That's
be the
true.
bad guy.
That is true.
So we'll see.
Well, yeah, and we know how they do with it. But I have to say this though. I am positive in my hopes, because when we look at action stars throughout, really we started getting action stars in the 70s, but 80s was really the hardcore moment of getting action stars. And when you compare Dwayne Johnson's acting ability to many of those action stars, he's way better. He is way better. I'm going to give him that.
Mm.
I'm going to give him that. I'd say the only action star he's not a better actor than is Sly.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I was about to say even then Stallone,
no,
but
not
no, I agree with
Stallone.
you.
No, Stallone. People forget that. They just think Adrian and Rambo, and they forget
Yeah.
that that dude is a
Well,
wicked actor, dude.
freaking Rambo, that ending of Rambo, that I don't care who you are, that's gonna get you. That is unbelievable acting, and it's
It's
just him
real.
monologuing, and it
Yeah.
just feels like I as somebody who had family who was in Vietnam, I had two uncles
Yeah.
who did two different tours in Vietnam. My one uncle he's passed now, but he had shell shock his whole life. He always had it. He was always shaking
I don't blame him.
from Vietnam, and he would wake up. He told me he'd wake up just about every night thinking he's back over there. Like he never got over it his whole life.
Yeah.
And yeah, I you can like you can just tell he obviously talked to some vets.
He
Like
did.
that wasn't just he didn't just pull that out of his butt. He knew exactly what to say and how to do it, and he had seen the trauma that some of those men had seen in their faces, and he just that performance
It was
was
really good, and he's done many
unbelievable.
others. He's a good
Yeah,
actor. But Dwayne Johnson is closer to him than he is, like, say, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold
Yeah,
Schwarzenegger is not the greatest actor. He's just wicked charismatic. I mean, my God, and he's got perfect comedic timing. That's one thing people don't give Arnold enough credit for, right?
he is
I'm going
funny.
to get into
He
that
is-
in a minute, actually. But anyway, Pierce Bronson as Doctor Fate, cameo or side character or mentor or wherever he's going to be in it. Freaking awesome choice, dude.
Right.
Right, and
Absolutely.
he's going to be Kent Nelson. Of course, he's going to be Kent Nelson. Because every time you see some kind of animated or TV show version of Fate, it's always Nelson. Because that is Doctor Fate. But anyway, all right, dude. Awesome. Yeah, Doctor Fate, man, and I like doing this series. It takes a bit of time to prepare and do, but I think it's fun. There's a lot of cool comic book characters we can talk about, and even if we get into some of the really obscure ones that I know a little bit about, I can go do the research anyway, right?
Right.
So far it's been easy because I know and I just go get pictures because I know what to but I'll get into the more obscure stuff that I have to work, but that's okay. Anyway, cool. Let's move on to our next bit here, and it's a sad one. The man.
Yeah, Ivan Reitman. Ivan Reitman, Ghostbusters director, dies at 75. 75.
In this day and age, it's a bit young, but it's still a good run. It's still a good run. Of course, his boy just had the new Ghostbusters Afterlife, which everyone seemed to enjoy quite a bit. A lot of nostalgia berries, but it seemed to do well. I haven't seen it yet. But Ivan Reitman, my God, dude. Cannibal Girls, Meatballs, Stripes, for
Oh,
goodness sake. Of course, the two Ghostbusters. And then, of course, he did a whole slew of Arnold Schwarzenegger comedies, Kindergarten Cop, Junior. What was that other comedy he did? Twins with Danny
mhm.
DeVito. He did Dave, which was funny too. Reitman knows comedy, but he also understands action and drama and all those kind of things. Just so many really good movies, and of course, there's a whole nother slew of categories of things that I didn't even touch on when it comes to his production side, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I don't even know how many movies he was involved with that. But true legend of cinema here. And safe journeys, sir, and condolences to his family. But that's a shame, dude. At least he lived to see his son be successful, though. That's cool.
That is cool. That
Yeah,
that had to be that had to feel good.
yeah. Anyway, sad news, but oh well. We do try to cover those things. And Joshua says, looks like his helmet got dent in the movie. Maybe. Well, who knows what they'll do. Roger asked about Dr. Fate versus Silver Surfer. Dude, there's no contest. When you talk about Dr. Fate in Marvel, you got to talk about Eternity or Galactus to,
Mm.
to, to get into that conversation. And Fate would beat them. He would. The only one that would stand a chance and would defeat Fate would be the one above all, which is basically Marvel's God.
Which is, yeah, he's literally God.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh, but any of the other entities.
so would obviously DC's version of God, the Supreme or whatever he's called.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
You see him in the
he's pretty
Sandman
he's
books a
pretty
lot.
much at the very, very top, tippity tippity top, besides literal God of these
Yeah,
universes.
yeah, no, he is.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like Thanos, for instance, and then once again, this shows you the difference between DC and Marvel. He would defeat Thanos in 5 seconds, dude. He'd be done,
yeah,
done. Right? He would just melt Thanos and take the gems and maybe change them so they can never be touched again, or something like that.
right.
That's what Fate would do. But yeah, anyway, Doctor Fate's cool. But Ivan Reitman, oh well, dude. I don't really when I see these old people dying, I want to honor their legacy, but it doesn't make me sad though.
Nah.
Yeah, it does make me sad because it's a good long life, dude. That's good. Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Marvel to quote recontextualize Marvel 2099 previews Winter Soldier 2099 with most stereotypically woke design imaginable. Oh, I hate that word recontextualize because all it literally means is change. But they say this because it's one of their little weasel words they can use. Good PR word, marketing word.
Yeah.
that can mean kind of anything they want it to mean. So when they say recontextualize, they could mean, well, we're going to change this guy's suit so it looks a little bit more modern. Or they could mean, we're going to change this guy from a guy to some form of something else. Just
Yeah.
pick a gender or whatever. And it's like,
Okay.
aren't
Well,
we tired of this yet, Marvel? Aren't we tired of people, of the outrage, of the faux outrage from both sides over it, of the actual outrage when you go too far from both sides over it? Like, aren't you tired of this game yet? Don't you just want to make comics again?
yeah, just to have some fun. Stop being wet blankets.
Yeah.
Now I put this here because of clickbait, right?
Yep.
And what I really want to talk about is 2099 coming back, right? And
Yep.
this, I have a couple articles today that are going to cover this concept because yes, this character is clearly woke with the the haircut and the hair and the color hair and all. It's just so of course, and this is Winter Soldier here, but on the other side of it, they are relaunching for the 30th anniversary. I think it's 30th anniversary or more, something like that. Maybe I can't remember if it is or not. But anyway, they are bringing Marvel 2099 back, and we're not getting a reworked Miguel, by the way, Spider-Man. We're getting Miguel, and that's awesome, dude.
I do like
Because
Miguel. I'm
I
a big
do
fan
love
of
my
Miguel O'Hara.
I love the 2099. I enjoyed that
If there
book.
is, in my opinion, if there's to be two Spider-Men, there already was, and it was Peter Parker and Miguel O'Hara.
Yeah,
Miguel is a great character. He doesn't
it
get the
is
respect he
30th. Yeah.
deserves from Marvel. The fact that they pretend like Miles was the first Hispanic and non-white Spider-Man is ridiculous when Miguel's
Yeah,
right
I know.
there.
That was weird,
And
wasn't it?
he wasn't like Miguel isn't like he's not what Miles is, which is an attempt to effectively blackwash Spider-Man. uh, Miguel's not that at all. Miguel is just his own character, and that's always been the difference between Miles and Miguel and Miles and Peter. Miles has always come off to me as an attempt at a marketing strategy,
It's
and
it's
Miguel never
woke
did. He just
Spider-Man is what it is.
yeah, he just came off as a character named Miguel O'Hara, who's Spider-Man in the future, and there it is. That's
That's true.
that's all it came
Um,
off as to me.
yeah, that's true. But to be fair with Miles, they seem to have written him very well, and people enjoyed the character because it was well written. Okay, cool. I think they just should have called him Ghost Spider or something like that. Something different. But whatever. That was an Elseworld story that now is canon, right? This is an Elseworld world story as well, right? This is not the real continuity for Marvel Comics or 616. This is an alternate version, and that's cool. They've announced here that here in February, coming out, it's already come out, it looks like. I got to go check it out because I loved Spider-Man 2099. Doom was cool too. But
Yep.
this exited a limited series is set to revisit the iconic world in a saga that will revolutionize its role in the tapestry that is the Marvel Universe. Now, keep in mind, Marvel and DC are both doing multiverse things right now, not only in the cinemas, but also in the comic books. So there's going to be a
Wow.
lot of crossover.
Crazy stereo marketing, huh?
Yeah.
Almost like you should have been doing that for the past decade. The hell? Ah,
Junkyard Dan says Miguel was great because he wasn't a Spider-Man knockoff. No, he was just a geneticist in Nuevo York, the renamed New York City, and yeah, he was organic, is why
yeah,
it was organic.
exactly.
Yeah, but anyway, but this is going to go all. This is going to cover everything from Asgard to Mutant Kind in this 2099 run they're doing. So cool, I'm up for it. I want to read
I
it.
also love his costume.
It
I
is
think
good. Yeah, and
it's
he's
so
different
good.
too. He's
Yeah.
different beast than Spider-Man, and that was smart. We also get Loki in this, and if you come down here and you take a look here, now we definitely have, of course, Miguel coming back, and this is one thing about 2099 is always kind of cyberpunky, right?
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. We got Miguel.
You know what they
Um,
could do with him? Just I just had a thought since you just mentioned it,
yeah.
cyberpunky. Why don't they make his webs like neon?
Oh, that'd be neat. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And he also fights with these spikes in his arms, by the way. So he's
Yeah.
more violent than Peter is. So you got that. Then we have the new Winter Soldier here, and yeah, I mean she's pretty woke, but who knows how they'll write her. But I don't know how interested I am in that. However, Loki is coming
Oh,
back as
Loki.
well. And the designer Loki here, this is Hobo Loki. Okay. But
Oh,
who knows
Loki.
what's going on in his life at that time? It might actually work. It might play well. I just hope it's really well written. That's all I care about. Tell us a cool story. I don't care about this girl. I mean, if she's cool, then they're awesome. That's great. This is focusing on Spider-Man anyway. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm up for it, and it sounds like book one's already out, so I gotta go buy it. I gotta read it, dude. I gotta read it.
Let me know. Let me know if it's good, because I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah. So a little bit of I think this article is clickbaity, of course, but I'm actually happy about this. I don't care about her whatsoever. I'm happy to see Miguel come back.
Yeah.
So neat. Although I haven't read all of the little weird multiverse stuff they've been doing, I'm sure he already has showed up again in that whole chaos. I'm sure the Spider Verse. I'm sure he showed up. But I'm happy to see he get his own book back here, even though it's limited. Hopefully, it'll people will enjoy it and they'll pick it up and give us a
I
full run of 2099 again, dude.
often said they should do a whole movie with Miguel. I think he's a great character. I think the setting is familiar but different enough,
Hmm.
especially since it's very cyberpunky.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it would work, especially nowadays. I mean, you could do it like Spider Verse, I guess, or you could do live action. Either way, he's going to be in the next Spider Verse movie. Uh, so we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I think he's a great character. I don't think he gets the respect he deserves from Marvel,
Hmm.
not from the fans, but from Marvel. And it's largely, I think, a political reason because they want to prop up Miles, so they pretend, well, at least they used to, like Miguel didn't happen,
Yeah, I know
but
it's
he
weird
did.
they did that, isn't it? It is weird.
Yeah,
Because this is a Mexican Irish
yeah,
guy, right? Just so I don't know if we mentioned it.
and
Uh,
he would be very Catholic, but yeah,
Yeah, but he would be double Catholic. That's true.
yeah, it's super Catholic.
But that's true. But to be honest, um, he works better anyway because this is way in the future. Peter's, well, of course, most certainly dead. This is an
Yeah,
Elseworld anyway, so no one is going to have any of these things with Spider-Man. Where's Peter? Then you're not going to have that enter your head. So it makes it
right.
free for him to be what he is, right? But I personally think Marvel should have a full on 2099 run. I also think they should be having a full noir run. I don't know what
Yep,
they're doing. I don't know because those two things are different and interesting. And they keep going on and blaming the fans and saying you guys are either this, that, or that, or they say that things are just stale. Clearly, that's not true because manga
yeah,
has become a mega hit in America. So
huge.
there's plenty of people want to buy comic books, dude.
Yep. I was
Right?
just at the bookstore yesterday at a Barnes and Noble in the mall, and they got a whole two, three, four whole sections full of manga,
Yeah, no,
all
yeah.
kinds,
But
old, new, bunch of Demon Slayer, bunch of whatever you want.
that's true, yeah. But I mean, think about this though. Like, if you're doing a noir run, you can't really put any kind of your woke crap in that because it doesn't fit the setting. But
Mm.
in a 2099 cyberpunky world, dude, you could throw any kind of wild shit in that,
Yeah,
whatever
especially
you want,
cyberpunk.
dude.
Come on.
Why?
Cyberpunk's always been subversive and degenerate. That's the whole kind of the point of
The
it.
point of it, yeah. And I'd go deep cyberpunk with it. Edgy,
Yeah,
bloody, just
like I said, give him neon freaking webs.
yeah,
Let's light him up. Give him like that. You can even make his suit kind of have little shiny bits on it. Why
yeah.
not?
Why not?
Why not?
And throw that max tag on there too, right?
Mm.
And then you
Yep.
can go and do all kind of weird, goofy stuff in that, dude. Go. I mean, why aren't you doing that? This would be more acceptable to the fans than you taking and gender swapping and race swapping some already
Yep.
existing character. Play with where in a setting that people aren't going to be offended by what you do. Because if you
Yep.
throw transgenders or gays or black whatever or white whatever, pink whatever into a cyberpunk thing, no one gives a shit. It's
Yeah. That's
cyberpunk,
cool.
dude. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you're in a world where people consistently and constantly and regularly modify their own bodies with
Hmm.
machinery. I think you can kind of get away with just about anything in that world.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
about anything.
Free, Marvel. That was free. You can take that one for free.
Yeah.
Okay. But
And I
anyway,
still
I'm
say
gonna read
that
it.
this
So.
decade is going to be there's going to be a huge resurgence of cyberpunk. The fact that that game was a mess wasn't the thing that will stop that from happening. I still see that happening probably before 2025. We'll have
Little
some
little
big
bit of a
thing.
stumble though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was but I don't think that's going to stop it. I think by 2025 we'll have something. Some either a franchise will go cyberpunk and it'll be huge like Spider-Man could do, or it'll be something or a new film or something will come out that's just cyberpunk to all hell and just is awesome.
Mhm.
I think we're going to see the punks make a big comeback into the mainstream in
Yeah.
this decade. I
Yeah.
really do.
But I mean, I'm going to move on to the next story. But and I agree with you. I'd love to see more cyberpunk because it allows you so much freedom in that world, right?
Yeah.
But I'm really, really, really wish that we would see a really good, hardcore, vicious cyberpunk run with 2099. You could bring any character you want. It's an else world. You're free to create as you like, and I
Yep.
want it to be brutal, right? And then what I would like to see them do with the noir, which they already kind of did, dude, go horror with that.
Ooh, yeah. I
Go
like that.
horror. Make
Go
a
like horror detective with it.
oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
Cthulhu-esque with that. That would be
Yes.
badass, dude.
That would
That's
be.
why aren't they doing this shit? Where's the
I don't know.
creatives, dude?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Like imagine like go back to like the cyberpunk thing. Imagine like a cyberpunk version of Venom where instead of a space alien symbiote thing, it's some kind of nanotechnology symbiote that fuses with people's bodies and things. Like you could do really cool stuff
Yeah, you could.
with
You could.
Cyberpunk and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Really cool.
It'd be neat, dude. And but what are they doing in Marvel? They keep rehashing stuff. Like for instance, X-Men over the past so many years, right? With Jonathan Hickman's run. Of course, now I'm not going to sit here and knock Jonathan Hickman because he's a really good writer. The dude is incredibly organized, and his story from day one to day last are completely tied together. You matter of fact, you could throw every other Marvel comic book out and just read only Jonathan Hickman stuff, and you'll understand the Marvel universe perfectly. I mean,
Yeah.
so that I'm not going. This is not a negative against Jonathan Hickman in his ability to write, and he's truly epic, and I mean that literally in his writing. But what they had him do with the X Men? Basically, they had the powers of X and the House of X. Is that what it was, or I don't know, something like that. And basically, we're running on three timelines. The current and they were using uh, Moira, his lady, his love, right? As her ability is every time she dies, she's reborn and lives her life again, right? That's her mutant ability. And they
Mm.
use that or they added that to kind of tell the entire story of X-Men, which I don't know why they did this, but they did. And they said it in when he first met her, the present, 100 years from now, 100, well, 100 year 100. They don't give actual dates, and year 1000. And of course, it's very Jonathan Hickman. It's very epic, and you have to pay attention because every little teeny thing's going to come back at you. I guarantee it, right?
Yeah.
Because he is a really, really good writer. But when you look at that, what did they do? They basically, in the end, every life of Moira Taggart, I think they did 10 of them. In the end, they found out that there's nothing they can do. The mutants ultimately get wiped out completely. There's nothing that could be done. It doesn't matter how they change the timeline. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what sacrifices they do. In the end, it's hopeless. That's what they
Mm.
did in Marvel, right? I'm giving you a synopsis of a lot of books, dude. But I'm
Yeah.
telling you that's what they did. So, and now of course we're continuing on with other Jonathan Hickman still doing stuff and other X-Men things, but what's the point now? They made it very, very clear that no matter what, the mutants are doomed. So what's the point of writing any more X-Men comic books or other mutant comic books? What's the point? And of course, they're still on Krakoa. Is that the name, or Croatoa, or whatever that
Whatever
living
it is.
island is? And they tied that into the story quite a bit. But it's just no. House of M is it House of M? Maybe it is House of M. But all that Jonathan Hickman stuff, you guys know what I'm talking about. I
Mm.
just don't understand their thinking because they keep rehashing. They do that, and they're still now rehashing. Why don't you do something different? Why don't you go and put some twists on stuff? You can still have your standard canon, your 616, but do
Yeah,
other things like we mentioned here with the going, max cyberpunk with 2099, going horror with a noir or whatever. Do something different. Bring some spice to it, baby.
absolutely. I don't understand the lack of daring. Right? There's no daring in this art anymore. They think they're being somehow subversive or daring by adding a bunch of homosexuality or whatever to it, and it's not
We
really,
already
guys.
have
Like,
that though, dude. It's
we've already
already
had
there.
that. One, two. Every major corporation on the planet and all of the major Western governments are in full support of gay rights, completely and utterly.
Well, other
So
than the
you're not.
Muslim ones, but I get your
Well,
point.
I said, yeah, I said Western governments. You're not. You're
Not
not really
Belarus.
like what are you doing there? That's not some grand revolutionary
Mm-mm.
statement, or you're not going outside the box, right?
Because they're small minded.
You're very much in your small little box, preaching your little nonsense to the choir who don't buy comic books
Right.
apparently, and you're just too afraid to take a chance, step out of your small little comfortable box, and do something cool. Just
Yeah.
something, just cool. It doesn't have to be, the next great. It doesn't have to be the next Superman. It doesn't have to be the next Spider-Man. Just something cool.
Yeah.
Just try it.
Well, here's an idea. Speaking on what I already talked about. Imagine going to Hickman and say, "Okay, dude, we're gonna make a wild Cyberpunk 2099. Go."
Yeah,
Oh shit, dude,
yeah. Just go
that would
wild.
be
What?
badass. Garth Ennis, please go make a horror noir, please.
Yeah,
Oh my god,
and don't put any rules on. Just
just go.
go on.
Right, go.
Have fun.
Right. It would be
Go
epic,
wild.
dude. It would be freaking epic. Anyway, I'm behind. I got stuff to get to, because I'm about to lose my goddamn mind. Here,
Uh-oh. There he is. Look at him. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
you're supposed to be
Moon Knight.
recording.
Super Bowl spot. Images and posters show off Oscar Isaac. Well, that particular one doesn't show off Oscar at all. That shows
No,
off Moon Knight.
it shows off Moon Knight. And this. I'm just going to play it. And I'm going to shut up. I'm playing it. I can't play the volume, you guys know, but
I love it. I
they're
love
playing
it. I
off
love
the
it.
insanity a lot, and I like it.
The insane superhero. I
Yeah,
love it. See, like Moon Knight. That's such a cool idea.
yeah.
Was that Kevin Bacon?
No, but
Oh, look at that! Come
yes, it
on!
is. Yes, dude.
Come
Yes,
on, bro! That
yeah,
looks
yeah,
so
yeah.
good.
It does look good, man. And they gave us some images here of him having a conversation with himself. This guy, I don't know.
Oh no,
Maybe
that's
this
not
this
Kevin
might be
Bacon.
Konshuth himself. Maybe.
Could be. Could be.
I'm not sure, but dude,
Oh, that's
and
good.
this isn't even it. This isn't the best. You ready? You ready? You ready?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and Kevin Feige says it's brutal, and they go into detail why it's brutal. And there was several times on set they were like, maybe we should back this up, and they were like, nope, not even thinking
Nope.
about it. They have gone hardcore, make you cringe brutal. Thank you, thank
Good.
you.
Good.
Because he should be. I mean, because basically what he is an insane, way more brutal Batman,
Yeah.
right? That has the power of the god, moon god. And I've been seeing a lot of little bits. I think they are going to give him, a monicum of super strength. That
That's fine.
version of Moon Knight, which I think
I'm fine with that.
which is cool.
Yeah.
And Ethan Hawke is in this. Okay,
Look at
uh,
that, man. Just look. That looks so good. That's
it
so
does.
good. That
It
might be the
does.
best one they've ever done. That
Yeah,
might be the best character design they've ever done in the MCU. I'm not even, in all honesty,
it looks
that
good.
is perfect.
It is.
That
Yeah.
is so good.
Look at that,
Look at
dude.
that.
Look at
Come
that.
on,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah, then
That's
leaning into the
so good.
mummy, yeah. And that's the Empire cover, and they have a little bit of artsy one here too. But it looks good, man. I'm enjoying the trailers. You guys should go watch them. I've always been kind of hit or miss with Oscar Isaacs. I'm not a huge fan, but I think he has potential, though.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a wash like some of the other actors we see. I mean, he's no Channing Tatum though. But yes, Mr.
Oh, that looks good.
Joshua, that's right. But yeah, oh my God, dude, I hope it's bad. I hope it's badass. I want to see him just tear through people with literal bones breaking, and not just the kind of Steven Seagal. They kind of break the bone and they stop on it for you to see it. I want him to move through and blood flying and bones just cracking as he's going through 10 people and just dropping them. That's what I want. And,
Yeah.
and it sounds like from the reading it here, there's a scene or two like that. Now, keep in mind this is a limited series, not a movie, so it gives them more time, more breath to take with the
Yeah.
character. So that could
Right.
be cool. It's one of those things I think the episode one's going to probably have some interesting things in it, but this might need a little simmer, right? Whereas like WandaVision, it started horribly, but that could have been cool. It could have been
Yeah.
cool if they had any balls and they
Well,
weren't
if they would have
stuck behind a
stuck with what
woke.
they were, if
If
they
they,
would have
yeah,
stuck with what they were doing with this like weird trip down TV land, if they had stuck with that and actually played into it more, I think it would have been better. And if they had what they had done instead of trying to stretch, what they did is they stretched it out, but then abandoned it, and that was dumb. So if they had made those first two episodes of WandaVision into just one 40-minute episode, it would have played a lot better.
it would
And then
have.
if they
Yeah,
hadn't completely abandoned the TV land concept by like I don't know, right near the end, they completely abandoned it just to tell basically a basic generic Marvel story.
yeah,
Uh, I think that kind of killed it. If they had stayed with it, I think that plan was to stay with that original idea, but
yeah,
COVID threw a monkey in that wrench, and because we know that aside from his woke reasoning why they didn't have uh, Cumberbatch there as Doctor Strange, I think that was really more to do with COVID, to be honest.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And
and they
that,
just used that as an excuse of, oh, we didn't want a white man to come in and blah, blah. Like, shut up,
but I
shut up.
think it was their plan originally because that
Yeah,
if that show had gone the way it did, and as it goes, it gets darker and darker, and you see that spoilers, Wanda is a freaking monstrous villain because that's what
yeah,
she is in that, and it makes sense. It's okay, right? But the way they ended it was like, don't you have any sympathy for her? You don't know what she's been through. She's a
yeah,
freaking monster that is
yeah,
possessed an entire town and did something very bad with the children. Okay.
yes,
But if they had taken where Doctor Strange came in, just beat the hell out of her, beat her down, and took
right,
her off, where all these authorities say, "No, we're going to take her," and Strange just looked at him and smiles and disappears, right? Like fuck you,
right,
right? That would have been a great cliffhanger for Wanda.
yeah,
And then in the multiverse, you can take and he's training her, he's teaching her, he's getting her to calm down from her sadness and her rage, and
the
he's
grief.
making her something, right? That would have
Yeah.
been awesome, dude.
Nope. Instead, we had to validate her evil because what she did was evil. She kidnapped an entire town and effectively raped them intellectually.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what she did. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and she put
and
kids.
she did it to children
No,
too.
what she did
Like,
to the kids was worse, dude.
oh
Um,
my
yeah,
god.
it's bad. But anyway, these kind of screw ups, it's just dumb. Just bite that bullet and dig into it. And it sounds
Yeah,
like they're kind of letting it go. And I think the reason that they're letting Moon Knight be that is because Moon Knight is an obscure character a lot of people don't know. So, and he's
yeah.
not tied. You haven't tied him into anything. This is like a standalone thing. It doesn't have to be part of the MCU. It's just this thing that's happening over here, and just okay, let him do what he's going to do and just go
Well,
absolutely brutal with it, man.
I've said I think one of the things they should do is the big MCU thing is great and all, but I think they kind of played that hand, and I think most people are very ready for smaller scale, almost street level like stories.
Yeah.
So we had the No Way Home. At the
Yep.
end of that,
Yep.
Spider-Man is very much ready to be Spider-Man again, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Something street level, something smaller scale. Moon Knight is obviously going to be smaller scale, right? He's going to be much
Right.
more
Sure.
street level with some cosmic stuff going on in his head. Um, and I think we have Daredevil in the MCU now. He's confirmed he's in. I think what they're doing, or what they should be doing, is setting up a street level, almost like sub universe within the broader MCU. That just which they kind of already had with the old Netflix shows that they canceled, but I think they're trying to set it up again, except this time they're going to bring in some bigger names, like a Spider-Man will be part of it. Daredevil will probably get a movie or be in the movies with Spider-Man, and you could eventually even get Moon Knight involved
You could.
at that level,
Well,
depending on what's going on.
do Marvel Knights.
Yeah,
Why not? Do the Marvel
why
Knights,
not?
and of course you have Doctor Strange, who's the one to kind of organize that, right?
Yep,
So, I mean,
yep,
you could
all right
absolutely do
there.
Marvel Knights, and if they go the route of the, the actual, empowered Moon Knight, where he can actually pick a car up and throw it at you, if you go with
Right.
that Moon Knight, he can lock into those guys really easy. It'll work really, really well. And
Yep.
speaking of the idea of Marvel Knights, dude. No, not that one. I'll get back to that in a minute. Not that one. This one. No, 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 no. Hold on a second. That right here. I should have put it together. Dude,
Norman Reedus unsure about Ghost Rider.
don't be unsure.
Now
Just
do it, Norman. You'd be good. You'd
yeah,
be
yeah,
good.
just take that and be part of that, dude. Can you
Yep.
imagine? I mean, because we're talking about Marvel Knights, right? Ghost Rider, right?
Yeah.
And having Norman is the top choice for it, but he hasn't. I don't know. It doesn't look like he's accepted yet. But they want him to play Ghost Rider, dude. What are you doing, Norman?
Yeah.
Just
Do it, bro.
be the Ghost Rider, dude.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's one of Marvel's coolest. He might be the coolest character.
he is cool. Yeah,
He's just cool. Old
yeah.
skull face. He's just cool.
But the fact that they're in talks with Norman makes me, I don't know why I forgot to put this next to the other one, but makes me think that they're thinking Marvel Knights,
Yeah. Let's do
especially
it.
with Moon Knight being dropped in here, dude. So
Let's do it.
yeah, let's do it. Please do it.
I love Ghost Rider. I think Ghost Rider is another character who I don't think he's underrated or underappreciated. He just never quite broke that mainstream level.
Well,
Uh,
Nick Cage happened.
yeah, and well, yeah, and I think with Norman doing it, I think that's especially if he did a little bit different take on him, where he's a little bit more quiet as a when he's not being Ghost Rider. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I personally want, and I've been saying this, I want them to do a Western Ghost Rider. I think they could even do a TV show or a movie with Carter Slade or somebody else, but in that era. Um, but if you're not going to, then I think Norman could make a. I think he could be a very good Ghost Rider. He's a very good actor,
Yeah, no, I
and
think he'd
he
be
could
great Ghost
really
Rider,
nail
dude.
Ghost Rider.
He could
Yeah,
sell the conflicted really well.
yeah,
And seeing as they're going a little with Moon Knight here, seeing as they're going with a smaller actor in Oscar Isaac, because although it looks like he got himself in really good shape for it, but he
yeah.
is a smaller actor. I think that kind of tells me they probably are leaning into the empowered Moon Knight, and that's the way to go, right? I really
I
think
agree.
that's the way to go for the the media. But anyway, I'm going to move on from it. But oh boy, please, and this is coming, dude. This is coming really soon, like this month, I think. Let me
Is
check
it this
real
month
quick. Yeah, I think it's this month. It's right on top of us, dude.
or next
March
month?
30th. March 30th.
Okay, next month. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a month and
Next
a
month.
half.
Yeah, month and a
Month and a
half.
half.
And oh my God, dude, I'm all over this. So sweet. All right,
Look
moving
at
on
that,
here.
dude. Look at the
This
cinematography of that. Oh, it's so good.
it does look good,
So
dude.
good.
All right, so here we go. Take a deep breath. Deep breath.
Oh no. What has he done?
And I do agree, Joshua. He probably will be. And before I make this little click here, Eric says they want Norman to play Johnny Blaze. He is more of a Danny Keach. Um, well, I mean, I think he could pull off either one. He is a pretty good
I
actor.
think he can pull off a young Slade.
Yeah, he
Go
could.
back in time.
Yeah, he could. But anyway, here we go.
Shang-Chi star Simulio joins Barbie movie. Is he going to be Ken? Is he
Dude,
playing
read it
Ken?
again. Read it again. Read it again. Go ahead.
Shang-Chi star Simu Liu joins I think that's how you say his name. Joins Barbie movie.
Yes, he's definitely going to be Ken.
Ah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's do it.
Dude, you gotta be kidding me. I don't know what character he's
He's
playing, but it's so stupid. He's gonna be with Margot Robbie. She's gonna be the Barbie, which is okay.
of course,
She's
yeah.
the titular character. And Ryan Gosling is
No,
Ken.
Ryan
Oh, Ryan
Gosling
is
is
gonna
Ken.
be with
Okay.
American Ferrera also featuring in the flick. Why? Why is he in here? Yeah, this is a Barbie movie.
Is he gonna
Uh,
be Asian Ken? He's gonna be Chen. Asian Ken?
He's
Is
going to
that
be
who he's
Chen,
gonna be?
yes, and he's going
Yeah,
to be the love interest. The triangle is going to happen.
yeah.
Margot Robbie as Barbie, I can buy that. But why? Why? Why is this Barbie movie? And more importantly, what are they going to do with this? With Ryan freaking Gosling? Don't you think you're going a little big for a Barbie movie with Ryan Gosling? Because
Well, I have a feeling they threw a lot of money at Ryan because he's a pretty serious actor,
he's a
typically.
good actor, dude.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: a Barbie. What I mean, let's sit here and talk about it for a second. What should a Barbie
Oh,
movie be
did it again.
for girls? Right? I lost Thundero. Oh well, yeah, maybe a Barbie movie should be for girls. It should be all about the girls, 100%, and it should be Barbie, saving the day in a very kind of girlish way. That's what Barbie should be. So what do we need all this stuff? Margot Robbie can't stand alongside Ryan Gosling in an actor movie. I mean, what's the point? Why is Ryan in here? I don't get it, dude. And of course, this guy isn't that much of an actor anyway. I have no clue why he's in it, or Ferrera. But whatever. Shang-Chi, Barbie was created back. Yeah. They don't tell us anything here.
Oh, yeah, we go. Damn Discord just decided I was done.
Yeah,
Apparently.
we have no clue what the plot is. But you know what I'm saying? A Barbie movie should be all for 100% for the girls. It's Barbie.
Right.
Right? And I don't understand why Ryan Gosling's in this at all, right? Unless he just wanted a payday and a goof. But
Paycheck, yeah.
yeah, maybe.
You see, one of the things a lot of the very serious actors, and Ryan is one, typically, meaning he typically plays much more serious roles,
Hmm.
not big budget movies like this. Like, well, I don't know how big the budget is, but you know what I mean.
Well, he's a
Hollywood
Joaquin Phoenix
popcorn
type
flicks.
actor, right?
Yes, yes. But eventually, you kind of want that big payday, right?
Yeah,
Like
sure.
Joaquin got his big payday with Joker. He's going to now with the next one, the sequel. Um, I think that's probably a big part of it. Is they offered him a bunch of money and he's like, all right, why not? Barbie said Barbie could be fun, and that was really it. It's not like he's not poor or anything. Ryan, I'm sure, is doing well, but that a lot of actors do that as they get older. You'll see them just kind of, if they haven't done the payout movies, they'll go do a payout movie, which is one like this. And yeah, I don't begrudge him. I think it is a little bit beneath him as an actor, but you
Yeah,
know what?
it's weird.
He's getting paid, so I can't hate him for it.
So, what do you think? Is Margot is she going to be Dr. Barbie? Is she going to be Gardner Barbie? Is she going to be Baker Barbie? Or is she going to be Beach Barbie?
Oh, well, Margot from 10 years ago, I wouldn't mind her being Beach Barbie, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, here's the thing.
That movie right there, I'm pretty sure that's Wolf of Wall Street. That was the only movie I ever found her attractive in. Every other movie,
In
she's not
Tarzan, she looks
uninteresting.
sick, dude. She looks
Yeah,
like she's
she's
sick. Yeah.
too frail looking
Mm.
in a lot of her more modern roles. I don't know how else to describe it, but in that one, she looked very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Whatever. If I hope they don't go with a spoofy one. I hope not. Just go make a fun little Nancy Drew esque Barbie movie
Yeah.
with Margot Robbie, please. Right? I mean, because
Yes.
Barbie can, because my daughter had Barbies when she was little, and there Barbie does all kind of things. You can have any kind of Barbie. She can be any profession or occupation is Barbie, right? So it's not this vapid, brain dead character. That's not how she's presented, and I fear that they're going to present Barbie in a parody way as this brain dead thing, and that's unfortunate because that's not what Barbie is for girls, right?
Right.
Whatever. I just thought it was funny because why? Because first thing I saw, the same as you, is he going to be Ken? That would have been epic, dude. That would have been
I'd have
epic.
loved it.
Anyway,
I'd have
moving
loved it.
on here. Okay.
Star Wars Ahsoka series casts Ray Stevenson. I like Ray Stevenson. I like
Now
Ray
he's
Stevenson. He's a good
not
actor.
going to be Thrawn. That's the only thing we
Ah,
really know, and it's like, damn, dude,
we need Thrawn. They
we
need to
need it.
do Thrawn.
Why?
Well,
Why do
they
they
need to do
refuse?
Thrawn well. I don't know. You would think he'd be perfect right up their alley, and I think maybe they're building to it. But because I have a feeling that's where most of this is going. The Mandalorian shows and all this, they're building to something, and I don't think
Yeah,
it's just
they're building to
shows.
the First Order is what they're building to.
Well, yeah, but they could easily fit Thrawn in there and have maybe even have him like be some key player in the foundation of the First Order or something. Um, I would love for a proper series, couple, maybe probably a trilogy of movies about Thrawn. Thrawn's a
Right.
great
Well,
character.
keep in
I'd love
mind
it.
that they are threatening us with another trilogy with Rey.
Oh God.
They are threatening us with it.
And that is a threat. That's
It
like
is a
you might
threat.
as well come into my house and tell me you're going to punch me in the face.
Yeah,
Just, I take. You know what? If you're going to threaten me with more Ray, you're threatening violence. I'm going to take it as an act of aggression,
that's
Chester. I'm
true.
done.
It is war. But back to this though. I'm on board. I liked this actress and what she did with Ahsoka. I liked it.
Yeah, she was good.
I enjoyed it.
Great casting.
I thought she was good casting. Of course, she's caught a lot of hell for some stupid reasons. But of course, there are always stupid reasons.
Well, she
But I
was
thought,
dating Cory Booker.
or whatever
I
her,
don't know.
whatever the problem. But I thought she did a
Yeah.
good job. Thought it was good casting. I liked her. And of course, it's going to move forward from her Mandalorian, which fine. But I would have preferred to see her story with her from her point of view and the fall of Anakin Skywalker.
Mm.
That would have been much cooler, but I'm okay with this. I'm definitely on board with this actress. I think she was fun, and you could do a lot of stuff with Ahsoka. And she is a beloved character, dude.
Yeah, she's one of the post prequels, that little interlude section there, that time frame before Luke and them show up. She's probably the most beloved character from that era.
Yeah, well, she's the
Uh,
Padawan of Anakin, right?
yeah, she's Anakin's Padawan who leaves the Order, completely leaves the Order
She does.
for various reasons. And obviously before Anakin falls, and it's kind of a subtext of it is that was one of the reasons that kind of pushed him a little bit to not trust the Order, because that was what George was trying to say. The story he was trying to tell was that Anakin lost his faith in the Jedi.
Hmm.
Not necessarily that he fell to the dark side for any other reason, but his lack of faith in the people who are supposed to be, the purveyors of good. And in a way, and I think it's not really implied, it's basically just said, that kind of started with her. When she leaves, it never sits right with him,
Right.
and it just kind of leads him down a path of losing faith in
Oh,
in the Jedi.
I didn't read every single word of this because I saw that because they're talking about Ray Stevenson being cast, and they said not Grand Admiral Thrawn. I was like, okay, well they're not doing that. But look at the last thing here: Grand Admiral Thrawn is yet to be cast. They are doing
Yes.
Thrawn, dude.
Good, good, good.
Yeah, no, it's
Now,
very
hopefully, they
good.
do him well because he's a great character. He's one of the best. He's probably the best of the EU, of the old EU, which they call Legends now or whatever. Best character that came out of that, and
Yeah,
he's not a Jedi or a Sith or whatever. He's
yeah.
he's something else. He's a different type of villain, but he's a villain and he's a good
Well,
one.
is he really a villain though?
Well, he's a
In the end,
protagonist,
I'm not
but
going to
he's
give any
also
spoilers, but he is a protagonist. Yeah, you're right.
yeah,
But because there's actually a big, really cool storyline with that. But anyway.
yes,
Now I know with the Book of Boba Fett, it had a couple of good episodes and a lot of mediocre and not and just plainly not good. They did a bad job with Boba Fett. But then again,
yeah,
Boba Fett, you could have done something cool with him. But what is he? I mean, he's like this little one off character people like the design of is really what Boba Fett was, and the name
yep,
is cool. Because give credit where credit is due. George Lucas is good in the naming conventions. He is.
yeah,
Um, but Ahsoka is a completely different thing. She's got a very laid out background. We know exactly who she is, right? So
yeah,
therefore there is some structure already there. You have to follow these guidelines because Ahsoka is this, right? She's a
yes,
disillusioned Jedi that is on a mission to do the right thing. I mean, and no man, she doesn't give a shit what other people think. She knows what's right. She's got to get it done. Right. That's
yes,
Ahsoka. So cool. And this is an older version of Ahsoka. Like I said, the more bubbly, fun version before she was completely rattled. Would have been interesting to see that whole process. I think 'cause they did in the Clone Wars, but
Right.
this is completely different, wizened. She's seen some shit, Ahsoka, right?
Have
Uh,
you haven't seen the second the third and second to last episodes of Boba, right? You haven't watched any of it?
I haven't watched any of it. Yeah.
I only saw parts of it, but apparently it's pretty much just Ahsoka and Luke and Mando and Grogu. Like Boba's basically not even in them at all.
Well, that was one
Uh
of the problems. He wasn't in it much at all. It was other
yeah,
people. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's
So it
weird.
is pretty interesting to watch her and Luke on the same screen. That's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic there because they're kind of both the children of Anakin Skywalker. One actually, and one, spiritually or whatever you want to call it.
Joshua is talking a little bit about Thrawn. Well, spoilers, but I'm not going to give the entire details of Thrawn. But ultimately, Thrawn realizes he finds something out as he rises through the ranks, becomes a moth. I think it becomes a moth, right? Um,
I believe
uh,
so.
yeah.
Eventually, yeah.
But he finds something out that the Emperor had found out, and this is one of the cool twists in Star Wars that if you didn't read the books, you wouldn't know. And this is what they should have done with the frickin' trilogy of Disney, and I have no clue why we didn't get the Thrawn trilogy. I have no
Well,
freaking
yes,
clue.
you do, Chester, because they said there was not. It's not like they had a whole bunch of books written to know what stories to tell.
Oh, that's true. She did say that, and they could have still put Rey. She could have been like
She should have been
a
Mara Jade's
Jedi under
and Luke's
Luke or
kid.
something like that, huh?
That's what she should have been. Mara Jade and Luke's kid. That's what
Yeah,
she should have
that's
been.
what she
They
should have
shouldn't
been.
have
Yeah.
tried this stupid little. Oh, she isn't, and she isn't, and she is a Skywalker. Just make her a Skywalker. What
Yeah,
are you
yeah,
doing?
yeah, and put Luke in it from day one, right? I
Yeah,
mean, have him as the old master. But what Thrawn, once again, spoilers. What Thrawn finds out, and the Emperor already knew, was there was a threat coming from outside of the galaxy.
yes,
And it was such a threat that it would destroy the entire galaxy. So
yep,
what the Emperor was really doing was preparing for that. So in a way, I mean, the Emperor is one of those type of characters that by any means necessary. So he is
mhm,
evil, but his intentions really were to save the galaxy. The His ultimate goals were altruistic, right?
mm,
And Thrawn discovers this as well, even
yep,
though the Emperor's dead. And he ends up, in the end, kind of siding and working with Luke, who by that time had become godlike, to fight this
yep.
threat. And a lot of the galaxy gets torn the hell out of in that run, dude. But in the end, of course, they succeed. That's the whole Thrawn thing, and it's really cool. It's epic, man. Well, that would have been badass to see. You know what that would have been? You know what that would have been? That would have been fucking war in space. Star fucking
You know,
wars.
yeah.
And what do
War
we
among
get?
the stars.
What did we get? Oh, we're basically Nazis, and
Again, by the way,
again, yeah.
yeah. Uh,
So
like, listen, I get it. The
anyway,
Nazis are the bad guys, but can we please get some? There's other bad guys, guys. There's others out there we can use. It doesn't always have to be Nazis or a stand-in for Nazis. There's
yeah.
other stories that can be told.
Well,
I'm
just
just
think
saying.
about the trilogy, though. There's not much war in it.
No, where'd all the war go in
Where'd the
Star
war
Wars?
go? Where if they did the Thrawn trilogy, that would have been bigger than Star Wars
Yeah,
as far as war.
yeah.
It would have been epic, and I
But
just don't. What the hell? It's right there, dude. And Thrawn
with
is so
sane people,
popular. What are you doing,
yeah,
man?
with sane people running Star Wars, I would love a Thrawn trilogy, and I would love an Old Republic Revan trilogy. But and
Yeah.
Revan's very similar to the Emperor in that regard. Like one of his character motivations is he found out that there was a greater threat out there,
Right.
so
Well,
he was
he's
trying to prepare the
he's
galaxy
the
for that.
action emperor,
Yeah,
right? Um,
and it would have been great if we. It would be great if we could get an Old Republic, the Revan story. But I don't want them to do it now because I don't trust them at all to
yeah.
do it. Like, not at all.
No, we're gonna get High Republic or something like that. Because I've heard a lot of
Yeah,
people were saying, "Oh, Mandalorian was fun," and it was. And
Okay, it's
they're
fine.
going a different direction. They're gonna make the Kennedy's trilogy non-canon. Bullshit, dude.
Yeah, no.
Bullshit.
Unfortunately, not. I
It's
was
all
hoping they
going that
were,
way. They're not
but
though.
it's not.
They're
They're
not.
not.
This is
No,
all
that's
going
how
to be
Luke
tied in.
ends. Everybody,
That's how
that's
Luke
how Luke
ends. That's
ends.
how Han
Yeah.
ends.
Yep.
You know, but they are doing Throng, so maybe on the back end, after the defeat of the this little kind of speed bump in the road of the Order, we got to get a Thrawn trilogy finally. But I don't know. But good for you, Ray. Yeah, I'm on board for Ahsoka. I like Ahsoka. Hopefully, it's cool like Mandalorian and not uncool like Boba Fett. Anyway, moving on here. Oh, dude.
Marvel celebrating Jim Lee X-Men trading cards with digest size collection.
Okay. I'm about to get nerdy on you. Are you ready? Can you take the wetness? Okay. Because I have most of this collection. I don't have all of it though. But you know what? I can now. Jim Lee, back in what 92. Okay, they came out with a set of collector cards, which they were freaking awesome. And like I said, I have most of them. And I got a lot of doubles, of course. They're coming out with just that original Jim Lee Uncanny X-Men trading cards and the entire set in one little box that you can just buy it. Yep, that's
I
purchased.
like it.
It's like
I like it.
automatic.
That's a pretty
Uh,
good idea. Yeah. Look at
yeah,
that. Look at that Magneto, man.
yeah.
That's that right there. That whole thing. Go back down. Go back down. That X-Men down there. There's my X-Men right
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the X-Men I grew up with. That, in my opinion, is peak X-Men.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I would give anything to have that X-Men back, but it's never going to happen. Look
Yeah,
at
no.
Magneto.
Well, I don't
Look at
really,
him.
I don't mind so much what Hickman did with Magneto, actually.
Look at that big old beast
Yeah.
Magneto. I love it.
And as he should be, right? I'm definitely buying this because, like I said, I don't have an actual complete set. The back in the day, those trading cards were really good. I got a lot of the different, not just the Uncanny X-Men, but some of the other ones. It's a pretty good thing, dude. 30th anniversary, and we're going to get. You can just go buy the whole set. That's cool, dude. That's neat.
Yeah.
I know there's not much to talk about, but if you're into those kind of things, if you don't have a complete set or you just want one, keep an eye out for it coming out in July on Amazon. Sweet. I'm definitely buying this. Yeah. So 105 cards, and I think I have like 80, near 90 of them. I think. So anyway, and they do have little puzzle ones that you can put them together, and but I don't know if mine's complete. I think it was several of them. I think I have a couple of complete things and foil cards and all that kind of stuff. It was cool back in the day. Instead of giving us a constant every damn year one or three events, they would do interesting things like foil covers or holographic covers, or they do interesting little things with the cover of the book instead of just and things were more one shot or more standalone. The X Men were the X Men, right? But
Yeah.
then and the problem here's I keep going back to Hickman today, here's one of the complaints I do have about Hickman. I understand what he's doing because he is trying to just kind of tell the story of the Marvel Universe. I get what he's doing. But
Yep.
because back in the day we had a lot of those one shots, even inside a run, and we had, Spider Man with Spider Man. There was not a lot of crossover, right? Everything was kind of standalone for the most part. And what he used that, though, to have Wolverine, and other people have done it too. Wolverine and the X-Men complaining to people like Captain America, why didn't you help us and stuff like that? Why don't you ever stand up for us? I think we even saw that as early as Secret Wars, to be honest with you. Hickman really leaned into that aspect where mutants are all alone, they took Professor X, who was always wanting to find a way to get along with humanity, and basically said him like, screw it, we're not going to be able to get along with them. And he literally threatened the planet in Hickman's run, right?
Yeah.
Prophet Charles Xavier, right?
Which
Uh,
which is kind of silly because I mean he's Charles Xavier. If he wants to do something to people, he just kind of he can just kind of
yeah,
make that happen.
kind of
Like
does. Yeah, keep
he
in
kind
mind,
of has the power.
I mean,
Magneto, one of the most powerful characters in Marvel, wears that goofy helmet to
Yeah.
protect his ass from frickin' Charles, dude.
Yes.
It's-
that's a good question though. Like, why did they basically let like a continuous Holocaust in the MCU, like, or in the Marvel universe, And I mean, it's a good question. It's a good thing that needed to be addressed, right?
Yeah, no. I said I got what he did it for,
Yeah.
but
Okay. Cool. All
I
right.
just feel that a lot of that is kind of coming out of the fact that things used to be standalone. Captain America didn't cross over with the X-Men, right,
Right.
back in the day, and they kind of built on that and used that, I think, because that's circumstance, isn't it? But I understand what Hickman was doing. Like I said before, Hickman is a great writer. If you could literally throw every other Marvel comic book out and just read everything Hickman has written, and you will
Right.
understand the Marvel universe.
Right.
Done, right? But I just think they've kind of taken advantage of that thing that used to be just comics where, this is a Spider-Man, and that Spider-Man is a Spider-Man. It's only his thing, right? And they
Yeah.
kind of took advantage of that. But because if you really thought about it, if everything was contiguous and interactive from day one, Captain America would have been standing behind the X-Men the whole damn time, dude.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No question.
So
That's why the ending of Endgame bugs me so much. One of the main reasons is because Steve Rogers goes back in the past and then he just stops being Captain America.
that
And
was
I'm like,
awful, dude. Yeah.
what? He
Well,
wouldn't do that.
That's left up to a lot of interpretation, right? And
is it?
hold on.
No. Go ahead,
I
Ben.
think we'll hear echoes of that within the multiverse. I think, right? We're,
I
we're
hope.
making a giant assumption Captain America didn't do anything, but again, like I like to give Marvel credit for being able to correct those assumptions. When it's timely.
Well, hopefully they will. That's a fair
Yeah.
point. But that for me wasn't even the biggest problem with Endgame. The problem with Endgame is their idea was we need to introduce our next phase of heroes, and instead of just taking a movie to kind of give a fond voyage to our characters that have taken us through this 10 plus years of this great storyline, the Infinity Stones storyline. They were like, okay, well, let's tear them down or break them down, kill them, whatever, so we can build up our other characters. It was a bad move, dude. It was a bad move. They should
I
have just
agree.
done a cool, fun movie with the characters we had, and then next phase, chapter 2 begins, volume 2, whatever you want to call it. That's what
I,
they
I
should have
think
done.
I think they were just giving the opportunity for certain actors who are wanting to get off the ride, like Evans and Downey, and yeah, I mean, because like Thor sticking around. I mean, Hemsworth has said that he's doing more movies and he wants to stick with Marvel for a while, right? And Renner's still in it, right? So I think it was just an opportunity for some, they ask, people, raise your hands. Are you kind of done with the franchise? Because this is the big hurrah, and those who wanted to get off the ride, got off the ride.
And that's fine, but they could have done it in a more respectful way. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
That's all I'm saying. Infinity War was I mean, outside from Fox's Logan, which is freaking epic,
Sure.
Infinity War was the best movie they had made up to that point. Now, the Captain America movies, especially the second one with the Winter Soldier, is a really good movie. But the Infinity War was excellent. It was freaking excellent, and the
I mean,
Endgame was a letdown, dude.
if you want to hear a controversial take, I actually prefer Endgame to Infinity War.
Oh my
I
God! I will come through this goddamn internet on you.
Whoa,
Well, hey, well, this is what Chet missed because we used to have these kind of spicy conversations.
It's
whoa.
true.
I'm being dead honest. I will happily boot up Endgame to rewatch. I don't think. I mean, I watched Infinity War like a couple times in the theater, but after that, I don't think I've watched Infinity War anymore. It's really Endgame for me, and for me, it's all of the cathartic closing of storylines that we didn't even know that we were itching to kind of see the end of,
Oh,
right?
Fat Thor. We needed that cathartic ending, didn't we? Yeah, Fat
Yeah.
Thor crying on mommy's shoulder. Is that the cathartic ending we needed, Ben?
But, hey, when I say cathartic ending, that does fit because
Really?
let's be honest, they did her dirty. They got a great actress to play the mother, and they shortchanged her in the second film, and they
So it's
gave
all
her
about her.
no.
Okay.
But they, again, they hired a great actress.
They did.
And
That's
she
fair.
could and she had a lot to do with both Loki and Thor, and she was the bridge for both because they had problems with their dad, but it was the mother that they both came together and what really tied their love together, right? And they wasted her. Number two, she was supposed to be a big presence, and she wasn't, right? And so that's, again, I will argue, one of the cathartic bindings of Endgame is they gave her the time that she deserved in Thor number two that she didn't get, that she was cheated out of, right? So
Well,
I stand by it. Endgame, I think, was a great film.
no, it was a horrible movie. You're wrong. But to be fair, though, all of the Thor movies are kind of bad.
Yeah, and I mean, my name's Thundaro. Thor's my guy.
Yes.
What they did to him in Endgame was unforgivable for me.
Yeah,
I literally I remember one of our buddies, Booster. I read because they had put up the spoilers. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but on Wikipedia, like the day before Endgame came out, they put up basically the plot synopsis, which was just full of spoilers. And I read the first paragraph. And that first paragraph ended with Thor cutting off Thanos' head. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, well, if this is where they're going, then yeah, this is going to be great. And I didn't read any further. I should have read further.
Mistake, yeah.
I should have read further, because what they did to my boy, I
really didn't like the movie, though, Ben, overall. And it's not a B movie. It's incredibly well made. It's Marvel Studios. I mean, come on. It's a great popcorn flick, but I just didn't like the approach. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, no.
Here's the other thing that bugs me about that movie is the power scaling doesn't make any sense from the movie before it. How was Thor able to overpower a fully gauntleted Thanos in the movie before, to a point where he basically landed a kill shot if he didn't have the gauntlet?
Because he was fat.
And yet somehow in the next movie he gets his ass kicked by a non-gauntlet thing. Like, gets his ass kicked by a non-gauntlet Thanos.
Continuity, it's difficult in that situation, to be fair.
He's reading too much into it, not just enjoying the ride. I mean,
no. I'm looking for continuity in a movie that's a sequel to another movie. Yes, that's what I'm looking for.
Comic books are not the venue for you, my friend, then. I mean, let's all be honest. We've read comic books long enough to know that the continuity of power scaling for any given character is wildly...
That's true.
All over the place, right?
Like, and that's one of the major problems.
Like, some writers have it to where Wolverine can completely regenerate from one cell, and others, so like, I get what you're saying, but like, for my 2 cents, that's actually in line with like how comics have functioned for 100 years now, right? That there is a wildly scaling power level for every character. It really depends on who's writing them.
Yeah, but these were the same writers and directors. These movies were filmed back-to-back simultaneously. It's not like it was 10 years apart in different runs by totally different people. These were the same people, and that is a continuity error in the same story. That's a problem that we can't just wave away, because there was really good, like you said, good closure in that movie, emotional beats, and there were. The first time I watched it, I talked to Chester pretty much right after it, and I was like, yeah, it was pretty good. And then as I got farther from it, as I got farther and farther from it, I started to hate it, because the plot holes and the inconsistencies and the continuity errors, how they set up rules and then they break them within an hour, like, that's just bad writing. It's bad storytelling, and I wish they hadn't have done it, because it was Infinity War was so good and so clean. There was very little of that. And then you get into Endgame, and it's all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I think the overall problem, which allows us to sit here and have debate over various nitpicky points in it, because ultimately that shouldn't matter, right? It's the overall pacing of the movie is really the problem. Infinity War is very well paced. It moves along exactly, and it's a pretty long movie, but it moves along really well. Where Endgame it gets sluggish, it gets kind of dragged down. It seems like there was loss of vision in what they wanted to do. It seems convoluted. I think there were major changes in what they were their initial plan for some reason, and it affected the pacing of the story. That's the real issue, because if the pacing was awesome, we wouldn't really be having these conversations. We'd just be talking about it just for the sake of talking about it, right?
Well, and you're right, because No Way Home, which both me and Ben both agreed is really good, has similar issues to Endgame like that, similar like nitpicky continuity things.
Yeah.
But I completely ignore them because the rest of it's so good,
right.
And it's so well paced, and the characters shine through so well, and for God's sakes, Tom Holland finally feels like Spider-Man. all of that happens in that movie, and it's that's why you can suspend your disbelief.
Sure.
Whereas for me, Endgame, that never happened, largely because
No.
it was too long, also because Thor, the making his depression into just a running gag was utterly offensive to me as a Thor fan and as somebody who's had depression. It's just not. They just shouldn't do that stuff. It's not funny. He has obvious PTSD. He's went through absolute hell
Oh yeah,
in
he
the way
has
that
though.
they
That
had
is
him.
true.
The way they had him not even resolve it. He never even resolves it really. Uh,
Well, and
was nothing but a joke for pretty much most of the movie until he goes and talks to his mom.
Wow, you took a
okay,
very different angle on that than I expected. By the way, Ben, you are
yeah,
not alone. People in the chat are supporting you.
and
We know our opinions in the minority. We're fine with
I,
it.
and I totally get your point about how they handled depression and the PTSD. My explanation of that is that's just the Marvel way. If we look to Iron Man 3, while he was dealing with his depression and his PTSD, they did the exact same thing, right? They give him a
Yeah.
plucky kid sidekick who just kind of poked fun of him when he was having his like freak out moments and
And
stuff,
he
right?
got
So
robbed.
yeah, and so I don't think that's inherently a problem with in game itself, but like
No, it's not.
it's
You're
the
right.
Marvel formula of how they don't want to
Yeah.
get too when they feel like they're getting too serious, they back
Then they
off with
just shouldn't do it.
That's true.
That's
Yeah.
the answer to it. Just don't even have him go. Don't even play that arc out at all. You can
I
show that
yeah.
he's going through some stuff, but don't even try to play that arc because once you do, you either have to commit to it or it becomes shallow, and that came off as shallow to me, big
Yeah, I didn't
time.
even
And
think
as
about that
somebody
point. Yeah.
who's a huge fan of Thor, like I said, he's one of my favorite, maybe even my favorite. It varies. It's either him or Spider Man. It goes back and forth. Uh, the way that he handled that is not how Thor should be handling that. Thor should be out there basically doing what Hawkeye was doing. He should be out there stomping heads. That's how Thor would handle it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't regress into some childlike state where he's
Well,
basically a teenager arguing with people on the internet.
one
Like,
one of one of the problems they have with Thor, and one of the mistakes they made with him, overall, and it's not Hemsworth's problem. It's the writer's problem. It's the same
yes,
thing we see in say the Eternals, right? Which was no the no Endgame is 1,000 times better than the Eternals because
yeah,
Endgame is actually it's not a bad movie. But here's the problem.
yeah.
Well, it's really bad, dude. But when the problem is, and you see this all across cinema, and in writing books as well for authors as well, when
yeah,
you are dealing with an ancient character, you have to write them as they are ancient. They have
yes,
experienced things, they have wisdom, they have life known, right? And this is not easy to do.
yeah,
Because as a writer, you write what you know, yeah.
right,
And if you can't get outside of yourself and try to understand what would a 1,000, 5,000, whatever 1,000-year-old character know, what would he be like? That is difficult. That's why so many
yeah,
vampire movies suck balls
yep,
because it's not an ancient character. Although Del Toro there. The awesome director Del Toro. What's his name? Benicio? No, no, no,
Guillermo,
no. Guillermo,
No,
yeah,
that's
Guillermo del
yeah.
Toro. In his strain, in his vampire thing, he knew how to write that dude,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
And
that's what
to your
one of the
point,
big
though,
problems.
that they had it right in some regard, or at least the original idea of Thor, especially Stan Lee's take of him being very arrogant, very proud, very haughty of spirit is correct, and that's how you handle a character that's supposedly very ancient and seen some things, but still has a major character flaw. You give him one that people can understand. That everybody knows a guy like that who's very successful, like Chester, and arrogant, and
Huh?
everybody knows that person and has dealt with that person. So that's a lot easier to write because then
Yeah,
everything else, all of his experiences, while they've made him wiser, they've also made him hard-headed and proud, and that makes him have flaws that you can play with and give him stumbling
yeah,
blocks.
Well, I think part of the other problem that you guys are encountering, though, is that these characters are based off of, Norse mythology, and Norse mythology,
Yep.
much like Greek mythology, presented gods that were very human in nature, that they were flawed, that they were subject to their emotions, far more than you would expect, again, ancient beings to be, right? So in that regards, they match their counterparts.
Mm. Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
I agree with you.
But you know
I
what I'm
think
saying, though, right?
I
Yes,
know what you're saying, but
it's hard. It's kind of like Superman, right? It's hard to write for Superman because he's so powerful. It's a
right.
similar idea. How do you relate to that? How do I, as a normal mortal, write a god? How do I make
Yeah,
that make
that's
sense?
my point. That yeah, and
Right.
that's where good writing comes in, having someone that's skilled enough to do that.
Yes.
But I think that's one of the problems with Thor. But of course, there's another major problem that I will never, ever, ever, Ben. I will never forgive them.
Uh-oh.
They killed the Warriors 3 in a 3-second scene.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Kenneth Branagh like abused Dutch angles.
Yeah,
So
no, well,
that
that's fine. I'm okay with that.
no,
But
no, the abuse of Dutch angles really triggers me. So just
yeah,
ask my wife.
fair
She had to
enough.
hear me about it
Fair
so much
enough,
in the
dude.
Cowboy
But
Bebop.
I mean,
So
come on,
yeah,
you know what I mean, dude.
I know they got done dirty, and
They,
that's a completely fair criticism.
yes. Ah,
Especially
guys.
his girl. Especially his girl, the best girl. His
Sif,
wife.
man.
Ah,
Yeah, why did they drop Sif? I mean, I get the whole thing with Masterson and for those of you who know Journey in the Mystery and the whole original Thor in Marvel comic books, you get why they have Jane Foster. You get it.
yes.
But screw that noise. That's the same with me and Lois Lane. Give Superman Wonder Woman and give Thor Sif,
I
please.
like it. I like it.
Yeah, but that's a minor thing. Whatever. Although she's the new Thor though, so it's gonna be
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome.
Uh,
Epic.
Natalie Portman, she put on some
uh,
guns.
Yes.
she did though. Give her credit. She did get in the gym there and
Yeah,
got
I saw
herself in
pictures. I
great
was
shape.
shocked.
Which is a complaint Chester and I have had about a lot of the women in the MCU.
Yeah. Well,
They
she's
don't
older,
take it
so
as seriously as the men do, right? They don't get in the gym. They don't bust up. They don't get themselves in, shredded or at
right.
least look shredded. And at least not all of them do. Some of them have,
The
but not
older
all of them
ones do.
do.
The older
The
ones do.
older ones
Yeah.
seem to, yeah. And I
Well,
I like that she has put in that work, that extra level of commitment. That's impressive to
yeah,
me.
yeah. Well, I'll give you a
Well,
good example of an older actress who does put that work in. I can't remember her name. She played Starbuck in the Battlestar Galactica
Katie
reboot.
Sackhoff.
Yeah, Sackhoff,
yeah.
Katie. Now, she's all right actress. She's fine. I've enjoyed seeing her stuff, and that's a girl who takes it serious and she puts herself in shape that she needs to be for whatever role she's doing. And
Well, I
Natalie did try. I'm not going to knock her for that, but she's an older actress. She knows what she needs to do, right?
Yeah.
you and I were of an era when we saw Terminator 2 and we saw Linda Hamilton show up
Oh
and
my
just
God,
look
badass
the
dude. Yeah,
crap out of all of us, right? Like
yeah,
talk about putting in the work for the role,
yeah.
right? She wanted her character to evolve from like a helpless waitress into I'm going to kill the next one that shows up, right? And you believed it.
Oh yeah, you did. Well, I mean, you get the point that Thunder was making. A lot of these young new male actors are doing the same thing they've always done, getting themselves in the shape for the role,
Yep.
whatever that might mean. And a lot of the young female actresses are not doing that anymore, dude. It, it,
And
it's
it's
it is kind of a problem.
Do you think that
because
it's because the expectations are for them to be, pretty and they worry that too much muscle will edge them away from that?
could
I
be.
mean, that could be part of it, but I also think there's a bit of entitlement going on with the younger generation right now.
Mm.
There's always a certain amount of entitlement with younger people. I mean, the rebellious nature is part of the human experience, but uh, the level of entitlement going on with young people these days is rather epic. And I just think a lot of these girls don't think they have to.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it because
Well, and
uh,
in fairness, if nobody is willing to sit them down and tell them, "Hey, we need you to look like this for this
that's
role,"
true, and they won't because they're afraid to say it, right? Because
right?
claims of whatever
They don't want to.
sexism
They
or
don't want
something.
a bad headline or
Um,
whatever.
but
So,
but it's unfortunate because but there's a nice juxtaposition here because with the older actresses they are doing it because they know they need to. They know they should,
yes,
right? So it's really what you're talking about Thundera is really a young actress thing, not an
yeah,
old not a mature woman thing. It's childish thinking. So but whatever. I mean that's a here and there conversation. But oh my God, Ben, what are you doing?
That's what I always do.
I have
Just
stories to get to.
you know, I'm great at derailing you.
Thank you.
I make
You
no
are.
apology.
You are. But anyway, back to this though. I did you do have any of the collectible Jim Lee cards, X-Men cards from the '90s?
Oh God, yes, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
And I have like all the comics that make up that iconic X-Men cover, right?
Oh yeah, my
So
God, that's a good run. Yeah.
yeah.
But in July you can just buy the whole set. It's pretty cool, dude.
Hmm?
So I'm definitely going to do that because I don't have all of them. But anyway, moving on here. Uh, here we go.
Marvel Comics announces new Thunderbolts comic book. I don't hate it. I don't hate the idea
I
of it.
love
Well,
me
I
some
might hate it when we
Thunderbolts,
look at
dude.
it, but I like the I like the idea of
Well,
it.
you know what I did, because I'm you guys all know I'm kind of crazy busy, but over the last year, 2020, one, I did kind of when I had opportunity, I did read the Thunderbolts run completely again, right?
Yep.
And I do like me some Thunderbolts. Are you a Thunderbolts fan, Ben?
Yeah, I think, of course, as with anything, it's dependent on who's writing it and stuff like that. But much like Suicide Squad, I think it's got its place in sort of the annals of the story that they're trying to tell, right?
Yeah, no, it's like Suicide Squad, but not at the same time. I mean, we
Yeah.
know that over the 80 plus years of what is considered modern comic books, DC and Marvel have exchanged characters back and forth a lot. We know this.
Well,
Uh,
characters, ideas, right?
Everything, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
But Thunderbolts, see. I like Suicide Squad too, though. But Thunderbolts, I enjoy. I've always enjoyed it. I think it's a cool idea. Bad guys being sent out to solve problems, right?
Right.
Just basically. But if we're taking, we got number 1 of 5. It's a limited run, so I don't know if it's going to be much. It might be just kind of a contact to whatever next freaking event they're going to do. But whatever, it's coming out in May. But I just want to look at the lineup here because I think I might be interested in reading this one because Marvel, not every title, of course, there's been plenty of good Marvel titles over the past few years, but there's been a lot of stuff that have been caught up in politics instead of just telling a good story. They've kind of leaned way too heavy into politics, right? And I think we're starting to see a shift back to just storytelling a little bit here. We talked earlier about the other comic book. Now we're getting into this one. Now, this book is going to have Hawkeye leading a team of Spectrum, American Chavez, and it's not that stupid American Chavez. It looks like the original one, which is cool because I liked her. Power Man, which I think it's a new Power Man. I'm not sure what they're going to do with that. We don't have information here really. Persuasion, and we're getting a new character called Guts and Glory. Okay, but let's take
Okay.
a look at some of the. I know it's a weird name. Take a look at the characters here. See, I actually liked this American Chavez. I always thought it was a cool name, right? I always liked
Yeah,
it.
it's not a
But
bad name.
Look at that cover. It could be cool, dude. It could be. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing with Power Man over here, though. Is that Luke, or is it
Small Luke.
the
Hmm.
Legacy Luke, or
That
a
can't
child,
be
or
Luke, right? That can't be Luke.
it doesn't
It's too
look like
small.
Luke, but I mean, and this look at America. They got her all cute here, man. Because
Yeah.
America Chavez is a cool little character if you go back and read her in the day, actually. And it got so silly with her recently. But looks like a return to normalcy with her. Of course, Spectrum here and Persuasion as well. There's your Guts and Glory up in the back there, a new character. Looks kind of GI Joe esque. And of course, Hawkeye leading him, which is good. Hawkeye is good for that. Remember West Coast Avengers? They sent Hawkeye to kind of put that team together. He's a good character to have as that organizer, leader, Cyclops type.
Yeah.
It might be a legacy character, Junkyard Dunn. Yeah, I think it must because it didn't look like Luke. Um,
No, it looks like it's a new guy, Victor Alvarez.
so it's not related to Luke at all. Well, okay, it's still a type of legacy character. That's fine. I like that we've made this complaints before of taking characters that exist and and just swapping them with race or gender. It's kind of silly. Just make a legacy character, dude.
Yeah. It's
Easy
weak.
enough, right? I
Yep.
don't know why they don't do that more often, why they have to be so silly, but it looks like they're starting to shift away from that. So he's Victor, he's a legacy character, cool. We got a new Power Man, we got a Hawkeye here, America Chavez looking normal. This new, he kind of looks like the dude from the Marauders, doesn't he? What's his name? Shrapnel, or I think it was Shrapnel. Remember the Marauders back in the day under Claremont, Chris Claremont?
Yeah, the
What's
Guts and Glory is giving me sort of a weird Cable vibe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
It's
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
a piece of little little packets or like pockets that he doesn't need. Right.
Right.
Very kind of Jim Lee-esque, right? Like, why do you have all those little pockets? What are you keeping in all those
Oh,
things?
thank God he didn't mention Liefeld. Oh my gosh. But you got Persuasion over here on the side, looking good, and you got Spectrum as well. This might be a legacy character too, or maybe not. It could be the original. She looks kind of young though. Okay. I'm cool with this, and I saw a thing with Monica Rambeau, by the way, recently as well, and it looks like they're bringing her back as well, which is neat. Because I like Monica. I would have rather seen her in the movie than uh, whatever Brie Larson was doing. Uh, but
Yeah,
um,
I can agree with that. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
because I liked Monica. She was a cool character, man. But I don't know. I mean, I know for some people, some of us over here, they were like, "Oh, this looks woke," because there is one of every color, I guess. But I don't know. I feel like it's a shift away from that because you got some characters here. You got Hawkeye doing what Hawkeye does really well in leading teams. You got a new character. You got some of these characters that have been, in my opinion, abused recently, looking normal. Uh, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? I think I want to read it. I'd love a new Thunderbolts comic, dude.
It would
It
be
feels
nice.
kind of weird that it feels like we're getting away from the villains aspect, right? Because I'm doing a little bit reading, and most of these characters are heroes, right? So, are we moving away from the intention of the Thunderbolts?
Maybe, yeah, maybe they are. Yeah, I
That would
noticed
be
that too.
my only criticism, right? Because I do think that there is a place for telling those kind of stories that can be a little bit more brutal, but can also have like an aspect of redemption to them, right? And so, I mean, I'm not against it, but like, why is this the Thunderbolts, right?
Yeah,
If
no,
it's
that's
most,
fair. That is fair. Yeah,
then why? Thunderbolts are meant to be villains, like working off their jail sentences. So if they're not working off jail sentences, then like, why are they the Thunderbolts?
well,
So,
that's another thing that intrigued me about it because
right.
it's Thunderbolts, therefore that must be part of the story. So what Persuasion, of course, obviously easy to be a bad guy. Um, um, Maybe this new Power Man is a little bit of a punk and he's got himself in trouble. And maybe this is creating a new character that redeems himself into Power Man. Guts and Glory, maybe he's a merc that got arrested for being a merc. Maybe American Chavez did something that got herself in trouble and she got thrown in in the raft.
I don't
Same
know.
with Spectrum, right?
Maybe, but like just that picture right there gives everyone a pretty chipper look going
It
on
does.
that
Yeah, yeah.
makes it hard for me to believe any of them, even Guts and Glory, which has such a hyper violent name, and just kind of look at him. He's got that smirk, kind of, chilling with Victor
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm not buying it. So
Nah, fair enough. Fair enough. I just try to find any kind of enjoyment for new books that I can.
and that's
Okay?
fair. Yeah. Okay. No, that's fair.
But because look at this cover. There's one thing we haven't seen in a while, right? We see a very attractive Persuasion up top, right? We have Spectrum here looking quite attractive. We got American Chavez looking
Voluptuous.
quite attractive. Well, Spectrum is, yeah.
Yeah.
And the dude's looking good too. And we've seen them kind of lean away from that recently, right? Right? And it's nice to
Oh
see
yeah.
it come back, man. Let me see if the article actually tells me anything. 'Cause I didn't read it. Oh God. Let's see. Justice Lightning, like lightning, all new Thunderbolt Stations. Devil's Rain. Okay. Jim Zub. Okay. Details included that Hawkeye will lead the new team based out of New York City, which also includes an experienced cyber soldier. Okay, so he's cybernetic, kind of like Cable. This May, New York City will have its own authorized team of superheroes. Okay, all right. Thunderbolts number one, announced Marvel. Rising out of the destruction of the Devil's Reign, which is ongoing, this all new lineup of Thunderbolts will star in a limited series by superstar creative team, writer Jim Zub and artist Sean Izakaksi, whatever. Zub previously, no, this is going to tell us anything. This like continues in the aftermath of Devil Reign. The Big Apple has big problems and is up to the new group of Thunderbolts to turn things around. Dude, I think you're right,
So
Ben.
yeah, it doesn't look like it's really
Yeah,
associated with the original concept at all. Maybe they'll mention why. Maybe after this Devil's Reign, they just kind of create a new Thunderbolts team and
yeah,
just
yeah. Because
they needed something, so
Why
they
don't
went
you
with
just
that.
well,
call it a different team name? Why does it have to be the Thunderbolts?
I
Isn't
don't
that kind of
know.
weird?
No, you're right.
It's kind
You're
of
right.
like what we were just what Chester was just talking about with how they swap out genders and races and just slap their name on it. They're kind of doing the same thing now here in a
Right.
different way with Thunderbolts. And it's like, come on,
Well, like
guys,
I'm
why are you
saying,
doing
I
that?
was kind of thinking this might be a little bit more going to just comic book because you do have Monica right here, right? And
Yeah.
she's
Right.
looking great, man. And this is her more powerful version of Spectrum, right?
Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think you're right, Ben. Though that's a shame. They should have put a different name on it then.
Or
Yeah.
they should at least give it a reason why, like in the blurb, why it's called that. What happened? Did they do something they shouldn't have? Like
Well, yeah,
you
no,
could
but
you could come up with justifications for Hawkeye and these guys to have done something against the law, and maybe this is how they're paying it back.
well,
But they didn't mention that at all. They
well,
just
no, but they could have gone with the New York Guardians or, of course, the Gotham Knights.
yeah, Gotham Knights.
Anybody? Anybody?
This guy.
Bueller. Bueller.
You
Uh, but now you're right. They should have just called them the Guardians or just give them some kind of name. But the idea of the comic doesn't bother me though. I think it looks kind of neat
know,
because
I
there's
think
some
the
heavy hitters here, dude. I mean, take a look at
yeah,
this. You got Spectrum, Monica Rambeau. She is powerful, dude.
Yeah.
She's wicked powerful, and
Beast.
and she's in. And I guess the reason why because I said she was looking so young, she is a light being, so I guess she can look whatever she wants to look like.
Yeah.
American Chavez is no lightweight, dude. I mean,
yeah.
she's basically kind of like a Superman, well, not as powerful, but a Wonder Woman esque type. You have a mind controller over here. You got this gun dude, of course, Power Man. He's not a lightweight either. Hawkeye's the only one that's kind of
He's a normal guy.
normal
Well,
dude, right?
normal.
Because there's some real heavy hitters here, especially Monica. I mean, she's no joke, dude.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I just saw it and I was like, ooh, I want to read that. You know,
Yeah.
A-
Yeah.
I
am I
I
wrong
like.
for having desires, Ben?
I mean, yes, but we're not going to get into that.
God damn it!
That's a
I
whole
like the
different
fact
conversation.
that the art style is much more
Looks good. Yeah,
appealing,
yeah,
right?
It's
It
good.
doesn't have this weird fetishized ugliness to it that a lot of their books have had, or a lot of their characters have had. These guys look very comic book, very
yeah,
attractive to the eye, and I like that.
yeah. Yep, I agree. And when because we've been you could talk about the various troubles that Marvel's been having over the past 20 years. I mean, we've talked to
Yeah.
Chuck Dixon, Art T. Bear, and a whole bunch of other actual pros that work in the industry. We've had direct conversations with them, and they all kind of agree. 20 years, the past 20 years has not been great. The 21st century has not been great for comic books, and they
Yeah.
have various opinions on why that is. But I really think what happened here recently, and everyone just got up in the hype, is the fact that you had certain people over there with Sana Amanat basically running the show, but you had certain people over there that wanted to peel off some of the characters to do their own kind of lifestyle type of comic book. Right,
Mm.
like She-Hulk, they made her this big, burly. She looks like a man, lesbian character that just enjoys watching cooking shows, right? And they tried to peel off characters and do that. And the whole time this has been going on, and whether you like that or you don't like that, and we certainly had our opinions on that over here, there was always mainstream things going on at Marvel the past, 3, 4, 5 years that were fine. Spider-Man's had some great runs in it. There's been
Hmm.
plenty of normal stuff going on, but it's that peeling off that gets the attention of everybody and it gets people's hair up. Um,
Yep.
it does.
Outrage marketing.
Well, it does, right? And of course, you have that. There's clearly a battle going on between the old school and the new school, right?
Hmm.
Going on because I just mentioned a bunch of legends of comic books that which we've been very fortunate to talk to over here, and they are definitely old school. I mean, you don't get
Yeah.
much more old school than Chuck Dixon and frickin' R.T. Bear, right?
Yeah.
And then you have this new school that have their own ideas. But I don't know. I thought the comic looked good, and I'd love to. It looks like something I want to read. Do you have
Well,
any
according
opinion
to
on that, Ben?
Josh, according to Josh in the chat here, he says he thinks someone said that they're fighting against Kingpin, who is the mayor of New York. So if that's the
The
case,
good
then it
guys are the
could
bad
be,
guys. I get it. Okay.
yeah, they're like an outlaw group
'Cause I
trying
didn't
to
read Rain.
stop him.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't read Devil's Reign, so I don't know what's going on.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have an opinion on that?
The conversation is pretty broad in that regards.
It is. Yeah.
As far as like, so first of all, let's be honest, Marvel's not hurting, right? You know, like with all the movies and stuff, like they
Mhm.
are doing fine. They're doing great, right? You could make an argument that they're being a little experimental, possibly in order to attract a younger audience, because as our generation is getting older, maybe not buying comics as much, and they're trying to appeal to a younger audience. I don't think that's necessarily wrong. And the other, factor is that a lot of these stories that have been told, they've been told ad nauseum, and so I think there's room to experiment right now.
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the nostalgia take and wanting characters kind of be a little bit more classic, but I also think that we got to give writers and artists like room to be experimental, because we could find things that we like, right? And that's how we get newer characters come up, characters that change things, like Armor, right? In the X-Men, I love Armor. I think
Yeah,
she's
it's
a
a cool
great
character.
character,
Yeah.
a great addition, but she's part of that kind of more experimental phase that you were talking about. And so I think it's necessary to because otherwise we're just telling the same stories with the same characters, right? And it just gets really repetitive at that point.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but I think nostalgia cuts both ways,
Oh,
right?
totally.
And your mention of Armor is a perfect example. Armor is a brand new character. Well, not well, it's been a while, but she was a brand new character, and
Probably
she's cool,
compared to
right?
like what we've been reading, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but she's cool. And she was a new character, came out, and she was able to stick. I think the one of the big things that's getting a lot of people's hair up, and it's not just in comics, it's everywhere, right?
Right.
Is taking established characters and doing something to them. That's the problem. If they were making new characters, people would either like it or not, and that would be the end of it. But and it depends on how you take the character, how you change it, and what type of character that is in the overall scheme of things. If you take Nick Fury, I don't know about you guys, but I much prefer the Black Samuel L. Jackson Nick Fury to the original, or at
Right.
least the who's the guy who did Knight Rider?
Oh
Michael.
God.
What was his
Yeah,
name?
yeah,
David
no, yeah,
Hasselhoff,
yeah. Oh,
right?
David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn it, you got there before I did.
God damn it. But I like that change, and I think most people do. I think, in my mind now, Samuel L. Jackson is Nick Fury, right?
Yeah.
But Nick Fury is a background character, right? But if you take a character and you don't legacy it in some way, and you just actually just literally change them,
No,
for some super reason. This is what's pissing people off, and when you get people angry, that's easy for them to continue to get more angry, and that's part of the problem, right?
and I will agree with you, right? And here's the point I'm going to make on this is that you would think that Marvel would be experts at this because it's the Miles Morales lesson, right? Miles Morales is a great character. He
Well
has
written.
proven himself to be a great character. He's got his own movie, he's got his own video game, and he's not just Peter Parker like redone. They wanted to have a different Spider-Man, but they made a new Spider-Man story, and that's Miles Morales' story, and that's the right way to do it. And so I will agree with you on that. And so
Right.
I think that's the right way to do it. Is that you're using the term legacy, and I think that's what you mean by that, right?
It
Is
is.
that
Well, no, I don't mean that in that way, but Miles would fall into that category. He would. I get what you're saying. But do keep in mind that Miles Morales, it was done intentionally. It wasn't organic, and that's part of the problems with Miles. Although he was well written and people love him, so cool. But keep in mind, and you weren't here
organic?
earlier, but keep in mind they already did that. Spider-Man
Yep.
2099, Miguel O'Hara was already a Latino Spider-Man. We already had it. It was already done. It's not new.
hmm
You know what I mean?
Well,
And
20. I mean,
I would say I don't think Miles is a great character. I think Miles is an okay character, but a lot of people I know who
People like him
were
though.
people do, but a lot of people I know who really liked, like, say, Into the Spider-Verse, Miles' movie, and I really like Into the Spider-Verse. That's not
right?
Miles. He doesn't feel like Miles. He doesn't behave like Miles.
Oh, really?
It's that they
No.
completely rehashed him in that movie. Well, not completely, but largely rehashed him in that movie. And I don't know about the game. I want to play the game, but for God's sakes, it's hard to get your hands on a PS5. I have no idea if they did anything like that or not. I think that's part of the problem with Miles. Is one of the problems they had with Miles in the comics, at least for a long time. I think they've changed this recently, but for a long time, from my understanding, is that they didn't give him a lot of character flaws that were resonating. And Peter has those. Peter has struggles and flaws and things. And Miles, for some reason, they didn't want to lean into. I would, if I had to guess, it's because he was, he's black, and they didn't want that headache. That would be a guess. I have no idea. And it made him kind of a boring character to a lot of people, and they just didn't want to invest in him because of that. Now, that being said, he's been around a long time now, over a decade, and he's established, like you said. He's had a very successful movie, very successful game.
And the way they
so I have no problem with Miles necessarily, especially if we get I'm going to call it a rebranding of Miles that we got in Into the Spider-Verse. That was a much better take on the character with much more resonance, much more likability as a character.
Okay, so this is where I hit old man mode a bit, right? Because I should have my video on so I can push up my glasses and do this properly. But the point being is, like, that's every comic book character. The Batman we have now is not the original Batman. The original Batman was the Adam West Batman, who was a lot more happy-go-lucky, a lot more smiley. And then Frank Miller does Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, and it goes grimdark, and that's the Batman we have now. So I will agree with you, but that is an organic way in which these characters evolve. The Superman we have now was not how Superman started either, right? So Miles Morales is a modern day retelling of how these characters evolve and have always evolved over the comic book run history.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
well, and keep in mind with Miles that this is an Elseworld character. It's in the Ultimate Universe, Hickman and those guys who did that. He's a character that put on the suit to emulate and respect Spider-Man, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why he became quite endearing. However, with that movie, Nicolas Cage owned that. I don't know what you guys are talking about. There was nothing else in the movie that mattered.
You got to be careful. You're going to kick off my cyberpunk rant. So.
We were talking about cyberpunk earlier, I just want to. I don't mind experimentation. I don't mind legacy characters. I don't mind anything. Give it a try. But we have been getting. There's an old axiom, and I've mentioned this before. But it goes really like this: don't tell, don't show. Or it's going to be show, don't tell. I had it backwards.
Yes.
Show, don't
comic
tell.
books. Show, don't
especially any kind of writing. And in the comic books, and they've been failing this for quite a while. And in many ways, not everything, but in a lot of things they have been. And I think one of the big reasons is because you do have a management over there that is. They feel a need to get as much diversity in the talent as possible. I have no problem with diversity in the talent. I just think that the talent should be talented, no matter what their diverse nature.
That sounds like it should be step one. Yeah,
it should be. And we haven't been getting that. We've been getting some very amateur people who don't know what they're doing, who just don't know what they're doing. However, with the guys in the Ultimates who created the Ultimate Universe, like I'd mentioned, those guys do know what they were doing, and they were creating their own Elseworld, and they were doing their own thing, and it was interesting. And Miles came out of that, and he was a well-created and well-written character. And what my point is, I'm kind of hoping that we'll get more and more of that. I'm happy to see Monica Rambeau back. Legacy Power Man, sure, cool. I mean, Luke is Luke now. He's not Power Man anyway. I always liked American Chavez, and they really screwed her up recently, dude. I want America back. The real one. Hawkeye's a cool leader type. I mean, I'm just saying that I hope this is going to be good, and I want more good stuff, dude.
Yeah. I want to turn the page away from this fad, I think it is, of this semi woke outrage marketing that these companies have been doing for a very long time now, and just get back to doing comic books again. Just
Yeah.
get back to doing it the way it used to be done. In some regards, you can evolve the characters, you can add new characters, you can change certain things, whatever. I don't care about that so much. I don't care as long as I don't feel like I'm being patronized. And a lot of this stuff, that's been the problem. It comes off as patronizing. It doesn't come
You
off
guys
as
are hilarious. You guys are hilarious.
Are you kidding me? Do you see what they did to my poor squirrel girl? Did you see what they did to her, Ben?
When we talk about the wokeness of comics, are we forgetting Stan Lee's soapbox? Are we forgetting the Hal Jordan, Oliver Queen run? I mean, like, this has been a part of comic book culture for.
But there's a huge difference between Stan Lee wanting to support the civil rights movement of the '60s, which he did, and this kind of nonsense. It's more of the time frame than the idea. Of course, people are always putting politics in what they do, but Stan Lee most certainly understood, even though he was a liberal activist, he understood that show don't tell. He got it. Right? Yep. He got it 100%. These people are just amateurs. They don't have this. That's the problem. It's a skill thing. They don't do their research, Ben.
I mean, you're talking about the guy who literally in every comic wrote reintroduction of the character because, and I quote, every comic is someone's first comic, right? So
that's true. That's
I get what you're saying, but historically, like, it doesn't match what you're saying.
All right. Let me give you an example. I'm not gonna talk about Squirrel Girl because it's too soon, Ben. It's too soon. All right. But I'm going to talk about America Chavez. All right. Now I remember when America came out way back, and it was an interesting, cool character. She was strong. I think she could fly, and she was just an interesting Hispanic character, right? And that's what she was in there for, to show a little representation for the Hispanic people. And I always thought she was cool. I know she's like D-lister and she was never that popular, but I kind of like those characters, if you can't tell. So I liked America. Now look what they've done now with her, right? The art is horrible. I mean, horrible, dude. So that's one. Two, the writing is inane. Okay. And then what are they writing? They changed her background to where now she comes from some alternate universe where two ladies have a baby without artificial insemination. They just magically have a baby. And she comes in, and her whole thing is about she's like this ultra hardcore feminist that is all about the lesbianism and dumb, stupid man. Right? That's what they did with frickin' America Chavez, dude. It's disgusting what they did with her. It's disgusting. It's disrespectful to the creators, is what it is.
There's even a worse one than that.
I know we're not talking about Squirrel Girl.
No. Iceman.
Oh well, the whole gay thing with having
Jean Grey literally turned him.
That was weird.
Literally turned him gay.
That was weird.
Just you're gay now. Yeah. What?
And it's weird too because they already had a bunch of gay characters. I don't know why they did that. But
that one didn't make any sense.
It's weird. But you know what I'm saying about that's what I don't like. That's what I don't like. Having some new character, new legacy character, brand new stuff. I'm cool, dude. Let's check it out. I'm talking about that kind of stuff.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's a character that, like you said, was a D-lister that probably didn't have attention, so they felt they could probably be a little experimental with her, right? Because that's what this is. It's experimental. They're trying things. If it doesn't land, they shift it up, and like you can see here, they've shifted it up.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, it's what comics are, right? Is that you experiment. If something lands, then you shift away, which they've done. So I get what you're saying, but again, this is how we get characters like Armor, right? Where
it is true. I just don't like the mean-spiritedness of it, Ben, because they can get not all of it. We're not talking about everything. We're talking about a very specific fringe here. But they can be very mean-spirited, dude.
I completely agree, and that's probably why it was retracted, right? And I don't think it should be mean-spirited. I'm not arguing that she was done correctly in that regards. I'm just saying that comic books are experimental, especially with younger, newer characters. Like, take a look at what's her name from the Deadpool movie, right? No, the Thunderbolt, like God, what was her name? The bald chick, right?
A Negasonic
Negasonic.
teenage. Oh goddamn, what's her name?
Yeah,
She's a
Warhead
cool
or something.
character though. Yeah,
The
she's a cool character.
Negasonic character in Deadpool was nothing like she was in the comics. They
No.
completely revamped her, but it worked out, and she's an awesome character. And her girlfriend Yukiko, that's an awesome relationship, and sort of the playoff with Deadpool. It's experimental. Sometimes it lands, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, but see, in this case, I agree 100%. But in
Yeah,
this
yeah,
case, you have a new character created
yeah,
from scratch, and it hit. And then a lot of them don't, but that one hit because it is a cool character. Even in the comic
yeah,
book, she's cool. So
yeah.
no problem. There's nothing mean spirited about that whatsoever. It's just a cool
Totally.
character,
No,
right?
I'm agreeing with you. I don't think the characters should be mean spirited in that nature, and it was a miss, right? But I'm saying,
Negasonic Teen Warhead. What's her name? Teenage Warhead. I
yeah,
know what you're talking
yeah.
about. She is cool though. Uh,
That's taking the American Chavez type of character and doing it right, and she's fun, and she was totally fun in Daredevil, and her relationship with Yukiko, and then like Yukiko's like relationship with Daredevil, and how it was all kind of very playful and stuff. It was like really fun, right? So that's how like you do the experimental stuff, and you get results like that, and it just ends up being fun, right? But like
she worked really well in the movie, by the way.
remember, like as she was in the movie was nothing like how she was in the comics prior to that, right? They completely revamped her for the film. Experimental. You experiment, and sometimes things hit, and sometimes they don't.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead. What a cool name,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
But she was cool. She was cool.
yeah.
And Deadpool was a great hit. But so it sounds like you and I agree 100%.
We do. I'm just not as like butthurt about the whole process because I understand like what it's trying to accomplish, right? That
Yeah.
comic books are very big, they're very broad. You try different things. If you land, you keep it going. If it doesn't land, you try again.
Yeah. Well, we know each other, and you understand that hard work and effort and diligence are a very important part of who I am, right?
Totally. Yeah.
The thing with it is in this experimentation we get going on, which has been going on forever,
Mhm.
we get some people who have none of those qualities. And I
Well, they
think
also have
that's what irks
agendas.
me the most. You hear me say the word, do your damn research all the time. That's what irks me the most, dude. I don't care about any of those things. I could care less who a character's sleeping with. That doesn't mean anything to me. Never has. I just don't like these lazy asses that don't do any of the research. They don't have the skill, but yet they're in a position to affect something that I love. That's
Right.
what
And
hurts me. That's what makes me mad.
I will agree with that. And they're going to go through hard lessons, and they're going to make changes. And so, like this Thunderbolts is a great example of them trying to course correct and stuff like that. My point
Yeah,
is
I think
that
so. Yeah.
I think when like Stan Lee was making Black Panther, he probably got a lot of shit for it because
I'm
he
sure.
made a very powerful black character who was the king of a nation that was more technically advanced and more powerful than like the United States or something like that, right? And he probably got a lot of shit for it. And so, but it was experimental. He was trying something, and it ended up becoming an iconic character. And so I think there has to be room for experimentation in comics. It doesn't say that you can't hate them. You can totally hate them. Like there's tons of comic book characters I totally hate. But I'm saying is that we got to give them room to breathe because it's part of the process of finding the next Wolverine, the next, Black
that.
Panther.
I
Like,
get
yeah.
that.
So that's
But
for me, it's part of the process.
let's take Stan Lee in 63, 64 when he created Black Panther and compare his level of hard work and skill that he earned over decades to Mags Visaggio and her nonsense and people like her, right?
Yeah, I get it.
There is no comparison. He earned the right to take a
Well,
shot
there's
at it.
also a major difference too. When Stan had his soapbox, yes, obviously, but that
Yeah, sure.
was at the end, and that wasn't really a part of the story necessarily. Sometimes he had tie-ins and things that he talked about that had to do with the
Now,
story,
he is a
but
liberal though, and that's
yeah,
okay.
it wasn't promulgated and or sometimes just straight smacked right into the story to where you couldn't really
What?
avoid it.
Yes, it
Not
was.
always. Not always. No, it wasn't.
Oh my
Uh,
god, yes, it was.
if his stories like Black Panther were a massive Black Power fantasy, right? If he was out here
All right.
just straight up hardcore Black Power in it, like they have done in these modern comics with some of these stories where they have literally they turn who they turn into Trump? What was it? Was what's his name? The big orange. He made a big orange guy, the big head
AIM
guy.
guy. You're talking about? Oh God,
Uh,
MODOK.
MODOK. Yeah, they literally turned MODOK into Trump. He had Trump's face, everything. He was orange, everything.
It could
If
have been
Stan
funny,
had done
actually.
that, if Stan had done something like that, I would agree with you.
Yeah, but
there's
Stan
a
would have been
different
funny
level.
about it, though. It would
Yeah,
have been
baby.
funny.
There's a different level to these things, and there's a way to do it. I don't care if you put your political persuasions into anything you make. You're an artist, make what you want. I do care if it takes away, if it breaks my ability to suspend my disbelief. And when I look at a comic book page and I see Donald Trump's face, I'm immediately pulled out of what I'm doing.
I know.
Yeah, especially because it wasn't funny and it wasn't done well. We've seen direct political injection in comic books since the beginning.
Yeah. There's a way to do it, and I'm not saying that politics wasn't in it. There absolutely. X-Men is literally, I mean, come on, they were created as a response to civil rights movement. Yeah. Absolutely it is, but there's a different way of doing it, and a way to do it artistically, and a way to do it where it doesn't come off as, like I said before, patronizing. I'm literally reading basically like a junior high kids activist journal.
That's the issue, yeah. Right there.
And I think that's fair, right? That to criticize the quality of the writing, right? But like if we're talking about not liking political injection, again, referencing Black Knight, the Dark Knight Returns, right? We had Nixon in there in like the heavy undertones of fascism being represented about that whole thing with Superman and stuff, right? So this has always been a part of comics. You can totally, quip about the quality of it, and I will completely agree. When the quality's not there, it sucks. But like politics and the undertones of politics has always been present in comics. Always.
Well, when I say woke, I'm not talking about what most people when they say woke. Okay, I want to be very clear. I want to make this definitional.
He means that they're awake and not asleep and on drugs.
No, I don't mean necessarily what most, because you have a lot of boomers who use that term who don't know what they're even saying. They're basically just saying stuff they don't like. That's what they mean. What I mean is a hard political ideology, whether it's usually left, but it can be right. I grew up in the 90s. I remember the woke Christians injecting their nonsense into everything. Yeah. When it's injected in, and it's obviously injected in, and it doesn't need to be there. It doesn't add to the story. All it does is take away. And like I said, a story is supposed to be a suspension of disbelief. If something pops out and pulls me out of it from the real world, I'm not going to like that. So when I say woke, that's what I mean. I mean modern world politics, today's politics, whatever they may be, injected directly into a story where it doesn't belong. Now, if you want to make a story that's about that, and you have it in there, cool, okay. Sure. Or it's about back and forth, or you have two characters who are really into that, like you mentioned with Queen and the other guy. Okay, that's fine. That's fine, because then you can play with it, right? You can be creative with it. You can back and forth it, blah blah blah.
When it becomes the question.
Hang on one second. When it becomes he's a good example. When it becomes a one-sided, just shit fest. That's when it becomes woke, in my opinion, and that's when it becomes a problem.
Okay, I don't. Again, I'm not trying to pick a fight here. So, Ched, I apologize for.
Pick the fight. Go ahead.
When you say that you feel like you have to, your suspension of disbelief for a comic book, right?
Yes.
The comic book is nothing but suspension of disbelief. Correct. Believing a man can fly is a matter of suspension of disbelief, right? Yeah. And so, again, I get the essence of what you're saying, but there is an experimental nature to the comics, and it is a playground to play with some of these ideas. Some don't land, and they redo them, and that's perfectly fine. But also, like when you talk about suspension of disbelief, back when Stan Lee created Black Panther, a lot of people couldn't suspend their disbelief for that character and the lore that he created around him. I love
Black Panther. He was cool.
I love Black Panther too, but he is a perfect example that if you rewind the clock to when Black Panther came out, willing to bet there's a lot of white guys out there who were having conversations similar to this, that they couldn't suspend their disbelief that there was a character like that in the universe.
I think maybe if I might try, Thundero, Uh,
Hmm.
you know, I think what he's trying to say, because me personally, I don't care about any of that. The only thing that matters to me is meritocracy. I want
Mm,
people earning the right to do it, and I want the best quality of whatever it is. I don't care what medium we're talking about. That's all I care about. But what Thunder is saying, and I understand what he's saying, it's about intent. What was your
correct.
intention? Why did Stan Lee create Black Panther? One, it was in the middle of the civil rights movement. He wanted to
Right,
create a cool black African character. He wanted to make
right,
him noble, powerful, and all those kind of things. So he had
totally.
political intention. But what did he create? He created a man who was going out and protecting his family and nation. He didn't.
Hmm.
There was no intent for him to say take that whitey, for instance, or honky
No,
at
I
that time.
totally agree with you.
And
No,
and what Thundero I think is saying, you correct me if I'm wrong, Thundero, but I think what
Hmm.
he's trying to say is the intent behind the actions of some of these people is to do harm.
Yes. It's to get Whitey, like you said, or whatever. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to
right.
necessarily be
And
Whitey, but
and
whoever
and
there is, they're opposite to their agenda.
Right. And
It's
there's
to
plenty of
piss
people
them off.
who have agendas. Like I've mentioned martial
totally.
law on this show, the question,
Yep.
there's so many of them, especially when you want to go with Ditko, or all that British invasion of comic book guys like Grant Morrison, Garth Ennis,
Yep.
et cetera, et cetera. There's plenty of people who go out and tell political stories and they have ideas and things that may be counter to something you think or you like, but there
Yep.
is no get whitey in it,
So,
right?
Well, it's
I
also
think
not
that's
necessarily
that's
in like. It's also not necessarily in like something that is for a lot of people. Like I'm a big Spider-Man fan. If you were to inject that kind of stuff into some side character over here, like Mockingbird or whatever,
yeah.
nobody cares. But if you inject that stuff directly into Spider-Man, then I care
Yeah, see, that's a
because
that's a
it's
point too. It depends on how
it's
popular
a
the character
different.
is.
It depends where you're injecting it too. Like you can inject it here or there, whatever. But when you're injecting a directly agenda-based character decision, a directly agenda-based storyline, whatever that is designed to only be about your personal political agenda or a group's personal political agenda of the day into a long-established character. A great example I gave earlier, Iceman, when they turned him gay. Why did they turn him gay? There was no
Well,
reason to do
more
that.
more importantly, I don't mind Bobby Drake becoming gay. That's not the issue.
Well,
Why did
I
they
do.
make? Well, no, I get it. He's always been chasing girls, but I don't
Yep.
care about that as much as you do. You know that.
Yep.
However, the question on that is why did they have Jean Grey make him gay?
That's
That's
what I
the
was saying.
weird thing for
They
me.
literally made
yeah,
him
I don't
and
gay.
mind.
that's
I don't.
where
That's the
you
weird thing.
think I'm disagreeing with you, but I'm not. I'm just like,
No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're
so
saying.
so the implication of what you guys are saying is that comics and writing and art is a straight line of like it should be good artists, good writing, and that's the ideal.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm an old enough fart with Chet to know like that's never been the way comics have been, right? It's that always been a
Well,
winding path to find the right story. There was the same thing I was trying to comment when you guys were talking
Marvel
about
should be though, Ben. We're talking about Marvel. We're not talking about some indie,
Right.
Black Hat or Evil Hat
Talking about the major
Productions,
league.
or
something
or
that
we're
gave
we're
us
talking about freaking
Frankie
Marvel.
Castle.
Yeah.
I'm
I
sorry.
mean,
Marvel.
sorry, but it, this is the comic. This is the industry. This is the company that gave us Frankencastle, right?
Hey
Like,
now, hey, you
no,
watch it.
no, yeah, I'm going there, Chad. All right, I'm serious. Frankencastle was not good. It was dumb.
It was dumb. There
It was
was
dumb.
plenty
Right.
of dumb stuff. I
It
just
was very dumb.
I
No,
just expect better. Well,
in
Thunder
fairness,
and I's argument is different anyway. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have no problem with experimentation. He must not have heard us earlier, where we were coming up with all kinds of cool
We
ideas for
were,
these.
dude. Yeah.
Even full on degenerate, full on like crazy trans stuff you could do with Cyberpunk.
Oh,
If you
Really?
did a
yeah, they
Cyberpunk
should go. They
Spider-Man
should
story,
do that. 2099 should be this badass.
it's about
Take
time
Hickman
and
and
place
put
for
him on
me.
that shit, dude. I'm telling you.
Don't
Yeah,
Give him
don't
free license
just
to
let
go
him
full
go crazy.
cyberpunk
Let him go
2099.
crazy.
It would be
Yeah.
epic, dude.
Don't start my cyberpunk rant, Chet. We got it.
It's coming, baby. You're getting more of it. Spoon fed.
But my point is we were throwing out some ideas that would be really cool with Spider-Man in particular, because they're getting ready to bring back 2099, and it's going to be focused on Miguel O'Hara, or at least he's going to be a major player in it, which makes sense, obviously. And I think they could do more with that. They could do more cyberpunk stuff with it. They could do more. They could change, instead of having him have white webbing. Why doesn't he have like neon colored webbing or something? Like, why not?
Whatever.
Just do something cool.
Just go.
And you could do stuff like that and just go over the top with it. Yeah. And then you can have, with Miguel, you can have more political storylines which are much more overt and less subtext and stuff like that. Right. But I don't want him to do that with Peter. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference of where you put your stuff.
When you touch the sacred cow, don't touch the sacred cow. That's true.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see Monica, because one of the things they were doing here for a while that I didn't understand, they kept wanting to introduce all these new diverse characters and all different kinds of diversity. It's like, okay, fine, but you already have some of those. Why don't you bring some of them in? Where's North Star? Where's Storm? What are you doing?
I can totally agree with you on that one. I don't disagree with you whatsoever. They've got a robust selection of comic book characters that they could use. So yeah, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna die on that hill, and I think you're completely correct on that, right?
I'm glad to see Monica back though, dude. That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's what really catching my eye on that cover, is that Monica Rambeau's back, dude. She was a cool character on there.
We've been looking at this page for like 40 minutes now.
Have we? No, I'm not. I've come over to where looking at our stuff. But no, it's a good conversation. And having different opinion, we have 3 separate opinions in here, and that's good.
Yeah.
Having this conversation. One of the problems is that's going on at places like Marvel, for instance, is that you're not having these open, free conversations. That's one of the big problems. And a lot of people are afraid to give their opinion. And the thing is, we can have different opinions and come to a common ground, right?
Totally.
We all agree what they did to Squirrel Girl is wrong.
And my point is
that they turned her into down. They made her a down person, dude. Down syndrome. Ben, did you see what they did to Squirrel Girl?
I saw. My point is, I survived the Rob Liefeld era, and I don't think it's ever going as bad as that.
No,
and there's grass is always greener on the other side. Is all my point is.
That is fair, but we blame that on
Here's
the image.
What I want.
These writers could do feet. Okay.
Yeah. Can anyone explain to me, how did Rob Liefeld even get a job? I get Jim Lee. My God, do I get Jim Lee? I get McFarlane. I get Larson. I get all of them. I don't get Liefeld.
Yeah. It's a mystery that we'll never solve.
Maybe Rob's looks really good in a dress. You don't know. You don't know what's going on there. There could have been some weird stuff going on. Maybe
it might just been a buddy thing. Maybe he's a really nice guy.
I will say he's equal opportunity though, because he doesn't know how to draw male or female anatomy.
No, he doesn't.
There's no sexism. He just can't draw. That's all.
We knock on Rob over here quite a bit, or at least I do. Let's see. Elrod says, Elrod's always got nice takes. He says, people argue cultural impact of comics, yet 99.9% of comics fans don't live the high moral views of Superman. Comics themselves are an 80-year-old history of plagiarism and thieves. That's true, but I do. I emulate Superman. I want to be him. Integrity is important to me, and I've always tried to follow that line. Now, I'm human, so, but I've always tried to actually do that. So I don't disagree with you, Rob, but I also don't agree with you, which is pretty normal.
It's an 80-year history of plagiarism, thieves, and gorillas. Let's be honest.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Hey, Detective Chip is getting some love over at DC. Have you noticed?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that, dude. He did know the right people. That's what I mean, Adrian. Maybe he's really a nice guy, and it could just be kind of the buddy principles going on, right?
Yeah.
He might just be a real friendly, nice person. But because we've met a bunch of pro artists, Ben, we've been doing this 3 years, and we've actually been able to interview and talk to big hitters in the comic. Yeah, cool. It's cool, dude. And some of them are assholes.
Yes.
Yeah,
they are.
I won't name names. Some of them are dicks, dude. But it's okay. we respect the art, right?
Josh. Oh, Joshua Hughes got you pretty good there, Chester. Read that one out loud.
Chester is literally Superman. Everyone says this. Uh, just, suck both balls, Joshua. Both. Well, you know what I mean. A good joke, Josh. But the principle of Superman, the idea
Yeah,
of it, the
the
integrity,
ideal.
that's always been, John Wayne, Superman. These kind of, role models are something I always wanted to attain. I always reach for, right, in my own personal life. And integrity is very, very important. So I really do my best not to lie when it's important. I've never stole anything in my life. I try to be fair and balanced with everybody I meet. I really try hard to do that.
Yeah,
And the thing is if everyone on planet Earth did that, the world would be better, dude.
a better place. If we
Yeah,
had more
there.
Supermans, be a better place.
Well, you know what I mean. Of course, I'm not.
I'm
I've
being
made
literal.
mistakes,
I
but
wish we had a bunch of Superman running around. A couple of them. Just a couple good Kryptonians just running around. That'd be great. Get some
but I
stuff
mean,
done.
Ben, you've known me a long time. You know me really well. Am I lying?
No, I mean honor's been a real big part of your personality for a long time, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and it's something you do try to live up to. So yeah, I would completely agree with that.
So take that, Joshua, you
That
bastard.
Josh, I don't know who Josh is.
Oh well, you don't know. Yeah, this is
Uh,
we're a small channel. We're connected to the whole indie movement that's been going on the past few years, and we support a lot of the indie people. Recently, we've been getting a lot of people come over from web comics, which is neat.
yeah,
Thank
Because
you.
and so we've been a big supporters of that, and we'll have them on our channel, and we'll talk about their Indiegogos or the Kickstarters or whatever. So we've been involved in that, and we've been lucky to be able to talk to some people in the industry. But because I have this show, I have the Sunday Night Owl show is just talk about entertainment in general, right? Just life.
yeah.
But this is comics specific. I do my Bugbears Basement just for place for me to role play. But then with the big show we have, the lucky thing we have, Ben, is I do the amateur or the fan edition of Drawn and Quartered. Now, Drawn and Quartered is the pro edition is over on Mike S. Miller, the Superman Injustice guy.
Yep.
He has the pro edition. He's got a whole bunch of pros that come on the show. But every week he reserves a seat for me, and I
Nice.
fill that seat with whoever wins on my show, right?
Cool.
So it is really cool. And what we do is we get a lot of these artists that'll come in and there's some really good stuff, dude. My God, dude. And they get a chance to go over and get a little exposure, right? And so that relationship has been really, really cool. But because of that, a lot of times, sometimes okay, it's Batman week or it's Justice League week or whatever. But a lot of times we'll actually take some person's new Indiegogo or new project, and we'll have all the artists who are on the show in the competition do that indie comics characters. It's pretty cool. I love the concept of it. It's a lot of fun. But
Well, it sounds
that's
like
yeah,
yeah.
that's what this channel is. So, um, yeah. Anyway.
And it's also a vehicle for me to spread far right misinformation.
Oh yes, you're
So
very
That's
militant.
that's why you need my bleeding liberal heart to come in and provide balance and fun with the
That is true.
virtual fighting. So
And just stuck in the middle with you is what I am.
see, here's why I like Ben already, because usually we've had other people come in here who are like that, right? Who try and be the counterbalance,
That's fine.
but often they end up just screaming. And I very rarely will raise my voice above this unless I'm excited. Not like excited happy, not excited angry. I just don't yell very often out of anger at
Right.
other people.
Well,
I will at video games or something like a
sure.
sports game or something, but not at other people.
Or Squirrel Girl,
Yes.
indignities.
So I don't mind a debate. I actually very much like debate as long as I feel the person is being at least 90% genuine, right? Not being
Right.
totally disingenuous
Well,
or get irrationally angry
Yeah.
at things. I don't mind that at all. So I welcome it entirely. You're not
well,
upsetting me at all.
yeah, we understand that the only time Ben gets mad is when you throw troll-esque epithets at his mother.
this is absolutely true.
That is very true.
I don't know if Chet's ever told a story that him and I played like a one-on-one RP session in which I created a character specifically for him to kill as many times as he wanted, as sort of a cathartic, working out issues. And last we totaled, I
Is that
think
what it was?
you killed that character, I think 27 times in that campaign.
You talking about
So
the little dirty dwarf?
no, I'm talking about the superhero campaign where I played the duplicator, the energy duplicator. It was a superhero
Oh,
campaign, right?
right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And and you every time you killed him, right, he could hop to a different duplicate of himself, but we kind of kept a running tally of how many times you killed the character, right?
Yes.
And it was I have it still marked down somewhere as 27. So.
I thought you were going to tell the Corlac story. Your
I mean,
namesake.
the Corlac is classic enough, right? That's the avatar picture, Corlac right there. So
That's true. That is true. Old Corlac, half orc extraordinaire. But no, I actually love having the balance of ideas and different kind of conversations. And you're right, Thundero. We've had we've had some people that just can't have a conversation, and that's
Yeah.
unfortunate. But you are militant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ben, you are a tree hugger.
I think
All
I'm
right.
a
We need
tree
both in the world.
hugger. Well, I mean, as far as debates go, and I'm always happy to have a debate too, and I do agree with you, Thundero, that the concept of good faith is always important
Yeah.
to come into any debate, right?
is
And
true.
so, and I think the other problem that people have with debates is they never want to take the L on anything, right? So they never want to like lose a point or like admit like not that they're wrong per se, but like the other person might be right on something, and that's tiresome to me. I don't want to argue every
course.
single point because that goes nowhere, right? And so I tend to take a broader approach to certain topics, as Chet probably knows.
I agree with you. That's why I'm just completely exhausted with outrage marketing. It's something that
Oh yeah,
they clearly do
clickbait.
intentionally. Clickbait marketing, it's another word for it. I'm just completely over it. It's kind of the same emotional reaction, right? It's just like,
You get good laughs at it over here, though.
yeah, I get to laugh at it, but when it comes to something I actually would like when they do it, then I'm just like, oh, come on, guys, you don't need to do that. One of the best parts about the new Spider-Man movie is they didn't do that at all. There was none of that. There was no attempt to like poke anybody's buttons or anything. The marketing was on point. The movie's on point. It was such a breath of fresh air because I needed it at that time. And yeah,
Well,
I'm
are
very
you
glad of it. We got to get this guy up, this bugbear up here to watch the damn thing. I'm gonna
I
keep
will
pestering you till it
eventually.
happens.
But in juxtaposition to that, when we look at the Eternals, people were making noise about the whole gay thing and that whatever. That's not, who cares?
Yeah,
That wasn't the problem with that movie. That movie
yeah,
was so badly written.
Oh
It
yeah,
was so badly acted. And I, which is because there's some heavy hitters in there. I don't get it. And the worst thing about that is it's clear to me that everyone involved, and especially the director, doesn't even know who the Jack Kirby is or
right.
understand what he was trying to do with the Eternals.
yeah.
Especially what they did at the. Oh my God, dude, Icarus!
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to like what I was talking about, taking the L on certain things. I am not going to defend the Eternals
It's
movie
bad, dude.
for dumb purposes. It was a bad film, and I did not enjoy it. So
Really,
I
really
will
bad.
happily
You know what
join
else was
you on
really
that.
bad? Giving Squirrel Girl Down syndrome.
Oh
That's
my god!
bad. Okay. Anyway, I got one more story to cover before we get out of here. I told you we were going long. My God, we went long.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see. What day is it? Oh, it's
Today
Tuesday. Okay.
is
All right. I'm
Valentine.
fine.
Well, it's almost Wednesday where
Well,
I
I got
am.
work to do, but I'm okay. I don't got to go to anywhere specific. Where we were talked about that. Here's my last one. We had talked
Ex-
about this a little bit before,
Excuse
but
me?
go ahead and read the title, please.
Spider-Man spin-off Craven the Hunter casts Russell Crowe. What?
Yes.
Spider-Man?
No.
I
No.
didn't. I've never even heard of this.
No.
Is
This
he
could
going
be.
to lose that belly? Because he's had a belly for a couple of years now.
Hey,
You
got
know,
some in
I think
shape
it's
for a
going to be
minute.
perfect, dude. Because here's the thing: when we first saw the thing about Craven, now the whole Sony Spider Verse, having Venom introduced without Spider-Man, we were all like, "What the hell are you doing? It's weird," et cetera, et cetera. And that's all still true. But when they started talking about Craven, it was like, "Oh, dude,"
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we could get Craven's Last Hunt, and they call it
yeah,
Craven the Hunt. And that is one of the best not just Spider-Man stories. It's one of the best comic book stories of all
yeah.
time, right? So I really, really happy and excited when I heard that, and they're just making me more excited because Russell Crowe is playing his father,
Ooh, he's playing. Okay,
dude.
okay, good. I was
He's
a little
playing.
worried.
Who's he
he's so
playing? His
He's
father?
playing Craven's dad.
Okay, that makes more sense. I thought you were
yeah,
saying he was playing Craven. I was going to be like, what is this bullshit? But no, okay, Craven's
Yeah.
father's fine.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and
yeah,
they're going to do some twists with this because Aaron Taylor Johnson is playing Craven, right?
yeah,
But Russell Crowe, great actor, is playing his dad. Now, keep in mind that Craven is a Russian dude, and his dad's like Russian aristocracy, right?
yes.
So by putting Russell Crowe in and telling us it's his dad, and even confirming the Soviet Union interaction with the aristocracy, um, it shows us the timeline they're putting Craven into, right?
Mm.
And it also gives us suggestions that we might be getting the superhuman soldier version of Craven, right? Um, oh, dude, it could be epically cool. It could be, because the Venom movies aren't really great. But the everyone's telling me the Spider-Man one's great. We got Morbius coming out, which looks freaking epic from Sony. Mike, dude, Ben, a badass Craven movie? Come on, dude.
Alien. So is it going to fit into MCU or the
No, no, no.
Sony
This is
thing?
Sony. This is Sony. Yeah, yeah. This is not
Okay, it's got that
MCU.
weird kind of because like Aaron Taylor Johnson's already Quicksilver, right? So
Yeah, no,
I
no. This
wasn't
is completely Sony. This is not.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's got that kind of weird crossover. Okay, I mean, yeah, I mean, like I said at first, I really wanted like Joe Magliano as like Craven, right? You know, I think he would
Oh,
be a
yeah,
good,
yeah, 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 yeah.
he would be a really good like older, more tenured Craven. Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think is still a, I don't know. I'm willing to give it a chance. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way.
Well, with
So
Russell Crowe, he can gently kind of, nudge him into the character, right?
yeah, sure, yeah.
I don't
I'm
know.
just saying that it's like a size and intimidation factor with
Yeah,
Craven.
that's
He's a
true.
big guy, and Aaron Taylor Johnson doesn't fit that. That's why I like Joe because he's big. He's a big
Yeah,
guy. He fits the build. He fits the physique, right? So I feel like he might have been better casting, but again, you know, I'm willing to give it a try.
yeah. No,
I don't
yeah.
like the idea of Craven without Spider-Man. I love Craven. I love
Mhm.
Craven's
Well,
Last Hunt.
who do you think he's hunting, dude?
I don't know. Is it going to be Spider-Man? Did they say
It's
that?
gotta.
Do they
It
know that?
has to be, dude.
Well, it doesn't have to be. They made two Venom movies without Spider-Man.
Yeah,
It's a very
but
Um,
good.
Craven, there's no way. There has to be. He's hunting. It has to be.
you say that, but
I'm pretty sure they're going to do it without Spider-Man. I think Thundero's right on this.
yeah,
No way, dude. It's called
I don't want
Craven
that.
the Hunt. It's
Well, it's
the
called The
Hunter. Sorry,
Hunter.
the Hunter.
It's
Ah, you're
on
right. God
Spider-Man.
damn it! I didn't read the whole word.
Yeah, I don't want that, but I do want Craven. But I want Craven's Last Hunt
Yeah,
right
yeah, 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 yeah,
into
yeah, yeah.
the Venom story. I want that whole chain. It's so good. It's a great run, and it's money that they're just leaving on the table. They could
Well,
make it into a movie or a series of movies, and just make billions of dollars, and they just won't do it. And I don't understand why. I don't understand it because Venom,
well,
especially, is ridiculously successful villain. He's one of the highest grossing
yeah,
villains there
that's true.
is.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man's freaking Spider-Man.
Well,
So what's the problem?
well,
What's the whole
keep this in mind though. There is an important thing you need to keep in mind when we're dealing with Sony and how they're having to interact with Marvel, right? Now, I don't. I mentioned yesterday. I don't. You guys know I don't like Zendaya. I just don't think she's a good actress at all. She's useless.
yeah,
However, the reason why they chose to make quote huge giant air quotes MJ the Zendaya a POC, I guess is the word these days. The reason they did that, of course, they could have went in another direction too, but the reason they did that was to make her a certain percentage different, so that Marvel, because Marvel has this contract and they can interact with anything that Sony's doing with Marvel stuff, right?
yeah,
And therefore, if they put the real Mary Jane in there, Marvel could have snatched it up and used it because it's attached to the Spider-Man. That's why the Zendaya character was put in there anyway. So there's reason. So I mean, the whole thing with not tying Venom to Spider-Man was intentionally so that Marvel couldn't get their hands on it. Because
Yeah.
anything that you're tying to Spider-Man, Marvel in that contract has access to. That's why
You
they
are
separated it.
triggering the hell out of Adrian over here.
How in the hell are you confused, Adrian?
He's
Russell
talking
Crowe is
about
playing Craven's daddy, right?
yes,
Apparently,
and
he's
he's
also
also
playing
apparently
Zeus
playing
in
Zeus.
Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw that on the side too. But you know what I mean. So there's a reason why they're separating. But here's my question, because I get what you guys are saying. All right, so maybe he won't be involved with Spider-Man at all for the exact same reason. So who the hell is Craven fighting then?
I don't know.
That comes down to who Sony has access to, doesn't it?
Yeah,
As long as it isn't in Spider-Man's not in the movie, I think they're good.
Craven versus the Fantastic Four.
Well, they don't own the Fantastic Four, but they
I
own the
know.
entire Spider-Man universe.
Marvel, right? Yeah, FF reverted back to Marvel. There's rumors they're going to be doing that for Doctor Strange. We'll see a Reed Richards in the Illuminati thing, right? So
That's
Yeah.
possible. Yeah, that's definitely possible. Yeah.
they,
Yeah.
yeah, they've been hinting at John Krasinski for that for a long time now. But no, I think it's going to be somebody else within the Rolodex that Sony has access to. I don't think it's going to be Spider-Man.
I think Adrian's having an aneurysm.
People.
It is a good question, though. Who will he be hunting?
Who will
I
be
mean,
hunting? Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Taylor Johnson's both Quicksilver and apparently
Yeah,
Craven now.
I think I need to help out the chat here. Let me bring up a picture of Mr. Johnson so you guys understand. Russell Crowe is not Craven. People.
No,
No,
he is Craven's.
old Quicksilver is.
Now, Russell Crowe 15, 20 years ago could have been Craven. He could have been a pretty badass Craven.
Oh my God,
right?
he would have been awesome Craven, actually. Yeah. Here you go.
Gladiator era Russell Crowe would have been an amazing Craven.
Yeah. Now, see,
Here's
the
the problem with him. He doesn't have Hunter's eyes.
Well, no, the good director's got to come in there and have to help him out. But I kind of agreed with him when you said that about him not really being able to sell the Craven thing. But looking at this older version of him, I don't know, dude. I think he might be able to sell it.
He might be able to.
Joe Magnion.
He's a good actor. He's a good actor.
Joe would have been the one. Although I got to say
I
Joe
agree
because
with you. I agree with
he has to pull Hercules.
Yeah. But this is Craven, everybody. He's a Russian, and he's a big game hunter, and he likes to kill the things. I don't know why I made him Swedish, but you know. So this is the guy who's going to play Craven, and this one, where is it? Well, God damn it, where is it? Over here? Yeah, that's Daddy. Okay.
That's Dad.
Are you okay, Adrian? Is it all worked out?
Russell
no,
is,
I'm just an asshole. All right, fine. That's good.
Russell is legitimately one of my favorite actors. He's
a good actor.
He's a fantastic
He's a
on-screen
dick, but
presence.
he's a good actor. Yeah.
Yes, he's a complete asshole in real life.
Oh,
but on the screen, he's pretty good.
Sometimes Elrod actually has a thought occasionally. Elrod, he says, duh, Morbius will be the hunted. Dude.
That could be interesting.
That could be really interesting, dude.
I don't hate that one bit.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Elrod. And therefore, it's probably not true.
Right? Yeah, it's probably some obscure nonsense character from that version of the Marvel Universe.
It is unfortunate with that contract Sony has with Disney because it is causing nonsense trouble.
Disney needs to just quit being silly and just buy up Sony Entertainment. Just throw the offer down and do it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because we're not going to be able to get a pure Craven's Last Hunt. I don't think it's possible because think about what you get out of Craven's Last Hunt. You have the general beginning of the idea that Venom is a thing, right?
Yep.
It started in that run. You also get Vermin, and it's brutal. He's eating people off the street, dude. You get the death of Spider-Man. The suicide of Craven, spoilers. It's an epic tale, and I just because of all the corporate nonsense, I don't know that we're going to be able to get it.
Yeah, I've been wanting it for since the very first Spider-Man movie came out. That's what I was looking forward to. was they were eventually going to get to Kraven and Venom,
Yeah.
and never really happened. Well, Kraven's never happened, and Venom was such a letdown.
Yeah.
It's just such a shame. It's money that's just sitting there that they could be making, and nobody wants to do it for a myriad of reasons. And it's just it breaks my Spider-Man loving heart, Chester. It breaks my Spider-Man loving heart. That's what it does.
Yeah, no, it is unfortunate, but I don't know. I think the idea, especially if Morbius is a big hit, bringing Craven in with that would be cool. I have no clue what they're going to do though. I do know that bringing in a heavy hitter like Russell Crowe, and we know how picky he is. He's super picky about which scripts he takes, dude. So
Yes.
he must like what he's seeing. That's exciting. Just that announcement is exciting. Now it could be a little bit the same thing, just cashing in like with Jake Gyllenhaal, who is also very picky about what scripts he take, and he's now Ken in the fucking Barbie movie. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, dude. But I don't know, Ben. You got any opinion on who Craven's going to be
And
fighting?
I it's either going to be a pre-established like Venom or Morbius, or it's going to be them using it as a venue to introduce yet another character. But again, we're limited by what Sony has access to. We know Marvel is keeping very tight strings on all of their characters now that they have their
Sure.
their film market fully up and running. They've been trying to get everything back because they want to introduce stuff into you could argue that's part of the reason why Disney bought Fox Entertainment to get X-Men, all that stuff back under the Marvel umbrella, right? That
Yeah.
was a huge
Yeah.
benefit of that, right?
Yeah.
So and I haven't looked at recently what Sony has access to, but it's really just going to be one of those, right? And I think just kind of based off of the top of my head, I think they're going to probably use it as either a chance to recreate Craven as an anti-hero like they did with Venom, or use it as a venue to introduce another character. But again, since it's the Craven movie, I bet you they're going to make him an anti-hero and make him, hunt a different villain or something like that.
They might do like that. Yeah. I don't. I wish they'd just leave him as a real, because he could be a good villain, dude.
Yeah.
But you're probably right. And I see Adrian's mentioned the Namor has been confirmed for Doctor Strange. Yeah, we talked about it weeks ago.
I
But
would love if I was going to do a Craven standalone movie, which first of all I wouldn't, but if for some reason somebody made me do it and he was doing his own thing outside of Spider-Man, I would make him Jaws. I would make him the force that is hunting whatever is out there, these people or whatever, and he's being the hunter, and
yeah,
that's what he is. You don't see him very much, but when you do, it matters. Very similar to Jaws, right? You don't really see him, the shark, until the end of the movie. Not really.
yeah, that'd be
Uh,
cool. Yeah.
that's what I would do with Craven. I'd
Yeah,
make
and
him a
have him killing
psychological threat as
heroes
much as a
and
physical.
villains, right? He doesn't care. He's just
Yes,
there for the hunt.
yes.
Yeah, that would be
He
cool.
just
Yeah.
show you don't really, like I said, you don't really see him. You see the effects of him
Yeah.
where he just was. That would be cool. I think you could do something
Well,
cool with that.
they spend money on those actors. We're going to see all of them a lot.
Yeah.
But just finish the comment on Namor. I don't know, but because Ben's definitely correct. I saw the other trailer now, and or the other spots or whatever it was. They're definitely doing Illuminati, dude. They're definitely
Oh
doing
yeah,
Illuminati.
1,000%, right?
A
Yeah, I mean,
thousand percent, yeah.
yeah.
But I'm telling you, the Namor scene is going to be like the Wolverine scene in First Class. He's going to say "fuck off," and that's all you're going to see of him. I'm
Probably.
telling you, that'll be your first thing of Namor will be a really small cameo, and him saying "Go away, human." Don't you think?
Yeah, because this is not, it's not the Namor movie, right? It's
No.
the Strange movie, but
Yeah.
they're going to use it as an opportunity to begin to introduce him
Show him.
in and
Yeah.
show him, and then he'll get his own film later on.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he will. And keep in mind, guys, that and I should know, but in these hero spotlights I've been doing, I should do Namor. I should absolutely do Namor because in some ways Namor is much more interesting than Aquaman. Arthur.
Yeah.
But just keep in mind that in the Marvel continuity, Namor is a mutant. He's not. He's not Atlantean. He's not this or that. He's an actual mutant. So that's a first sighting of a mutant, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course,
Yep.
Patrick Stewart's going to be in it as Xavier, another spotting of a mutant, right?
Yep. Well, did you see that apparently, I don't know if this is confirmed, but I saw that somebody had mentioned, or it was a rumor, or maybe it was in an article, that Jane Foster has cancer now because of the snap, from coming back from the
Well,
snap. It gave her cancer.
they have to follow the story in Lady Thor, right?
Well, right, that she has cancer.
She
Yeah,
dies of
I get
cancer.
that.
Yeah.
But my point is if it's created an ailment in somebody, it's created a material change in their body. Is there a chance that that's how we already have mutants and they just haven't revealed it yet? That the reversing
Although
of the snap is what did it,
we
mutated
talked about
people.
this a week or two ago,
Yeah,
because what they're doing with the Eternals movie, because I mean, I hate to say this, I swear to God, I want to punch myself in the balls, but you kind of have to know what happens in the Eternal movies for what's going forward in continuity, because
yeah.
there are some important story building points in that movie, unfortunately. But one of those that is in there, and we've seen them talk about it specifically, is the fact that I don't like it. But what they're doing is the because we haven't seen mutants under Disney yet, right? We haven't got the
Yeah.
Disney mutants yet. What they're doing is saying that mutants are the deviants. That's what they're
I hope
doing.
not,
And it's
because that would be
stupid
stupid.
because the Celestials put it in place very specifically. Deviants first, they screwed up, they came in, they kind of reduced their numbers, created the Eternals to keep them in check, and gave humans the mutant gene so that in the future they could be possibly become something. It's all about that, the big celestial experiment that's going on. So it's an important distinction that mutants are human, right?
Right, exactly.
It's a very important distinction. But it seems that Disney, in all their wisdom, has made a decision that no, 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 they're just deviants.
I hope not.
Nah, that's what they said, and that's what they're showing. So we're good. The mutants we're getting are not human at all. They're completely off. They're an offshoot of the deviants, and the deviants are incredibly mutagenic in their nature. Anyway, there's no deviant that looks the same in the continuity anyway. So I don't know. What do you think about that, Ben? The fact that they've announced that this is what they're doing.
I haven't seen that announcement. I'd be interested to read more because
We
I
covered
was.
it. Yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay, I need
Yeah.
to go look at that because I was under the impression that it was going to be Snap related as well. So I'll need to go read some more on that.
That
I
would have been
mean,
a smart way to go. But
yeah.
no, I think to be
Now
honest with
hold
you,
on.
yeah,
So let's just back up a little bit and remember that Marvel is known for, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but Marvel is known for outright lying to
that's true.
cover their tracks, right? Like
Yeah.
we've seen them full on create false trailers or false scenes in trailers to throw people off the track on certain
That
things,
is
right?
true.
So
Yeah.
it is possible they said that, but I don't know. Like when it comes to Marvel, you sometimes have to like retract your expectations because they will outright lie because they know that so much of the market now is like transparent, right? That we know what's being filmed ahead of time, we know what's coming, we know who's playing what characters, and so they do purposely obfuscate things so that people still have the opportunity at a surprise and a twist. So that could be it, but it could also be a lie, and it could be something else that they're planning.
Yeah,
It's very
no,
much repertoire to do that.
you're right. And I don't mind when they do that either. It doesn't make me mad at all.
Well, the good
Um,
news is they've given themselves a few outs for this,
yeah,
right? They
they
have
have.
the multiverse stuff. They have setting up a kind of reverse House of M with Wanda.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They have it's apparently the snap can cause cancer. They have that. It could be that triggered the mutation. Um, there's a few different outs they've given themselves already that are pretty easy to see they could do narratively. I really hope the Deviants one is a feint. It's not. That's not what they're, because that's just terrible. Completely misses the point of X Men. They're X Men. They're humans. They're not X creatures that look like men. They're
Yeah,
human beings.
sure,
Ah,
and that's true, and that is an issue. But going to it, Ben, because see, before I saw that article and the Eternals movie, I had thought, Ben, that it was going to be Snap, and then when they started getting it, way back, and then when I started seeing all this multiverse stuff, I figured, oh, that's how the mutants are coming in, is through Doctor Strange messing with the universes, and I kind of, in a way, it almost confirms it that Patrick Stewart's voice is in the trailer, right? But
Right.
yeah, I don't know. It seems maybe he's right. Maybe they're just lying to us to throw us off the scent. I don't know. But there is another whole nother problem, though. There's a huge problem you have here, right? And this is, you really should not mix mutants, X-Men, with your standard universe. It should be standalone, dude. Because the problem you have with it is, and it's always been a thing, always been a problem. We get why Stan Lee created the X-Men. We get why Claremont took it where he took it, and everybody since then. However, in reality, what's happening with the human hatred and ultimate destruction of the mutants is not how the reality of the Marvel universe actually would work, right? It depends on the mutant. Are they heroic? Are they helpful? Because Captain America is mutated, right? The Hulk is mutated. You have all of these people who are altered in some way or another, and they are often beloved and cheered, and they've shown it in the movies that and in comic books as well. People buy their merchandise, etc., etc. So crossing the X-Men or any kind of mutant comic book over with the main line doesn't really work for me, right? And I don't know how they're going to justify that in the MCU, because we already have all these weird, interesting peoples. So now you have more weird, interesting peoples. Well, why are they automatic? Oh no, that group's bad, and we have the whole mutant registration and all the kind of stuff that's part of that element. So therefore, by them introducing the mutants at all, they're going to have to do it in a radically different way.
No, I completely agree. So I'm reading this article about mutants being, deviants, and I'm guessing you guys got that from the announcement of Judgment Day, which was the Avengers X-Men Internals crossover that was announced in late January.
We also got it from the eternal storylines and conversations about the movie itself. Yeah, but yeah, no, you're
Gotcha.
right. Yeah, this is Judgment Day
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, yeah,
I think that what they're talking about is that mutants are deviants in that they deviate from humanity, right? From the path of humanity, and they're not actually like
right.
deviant
I
in the
thought so.
tradition.
I thought so
Yeah.
too, but I went and cross-referenced, and that's not what they're saying.
Okay, I'll do some more reading on that, but so yeah, I guess it really kind of depends, because a lot of this is just what they're doing in the Marvel comic book universe that might not necessarily apply to the cinematic universe,
Right. That's
right?
what. That's my point. Right. Yeah. That's my
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
And I think that a lot of what we're doing specifically, because like we're setting up for Kang to be a big thing in the cinematic universe at some point, right? With the TVA being dissolved, right? And the multiverse is kicking up, right? Which again, I think is all leading to Secret Wars, which is great. I think
so,
with with the combination of the snapping, the multiverse exploding with the death of Kang OG, and then with Doctor Strange, right? That opens up a lot of avenues for, again, suspension of disbelief of bringing things in. You're right; it still needs to be done well, but there's a lot of avenues to kind of like just sort of like glaze over and say like, okay, this thing kind of happened as a result of these three major events that really kind of warped reality a bit for us. Oh, and of course, Scarlet Witch, right? And she has her own effect on reality and stuff like that as well, right?
right.
So
Right.
I
I
like
think
the idea of Hulk when he reversed the snap. Of he
that,
had subconsciously a thought of we can never let this happen again, and that triggered mutation in humans and made them. And basically, humans come from just that thought and him using the reversing the snap. And I like that idea. I also like the idea of a reverse House of M. I think that could be cool too.
Well,
Um,
but that brings us to another problem, Thundero, because
yeah,
we've already had Scarlet Witch and Quick and her brother introduced, right? And
mhm.
but they're not mutants,
Yes,
even though
correct.
they should be, because they're talk about mutant royalty right there, right?
Yeah.
But they're not mutants. So I don't know. And maybe the whole idea with what's going on in the comic books and the little hints that people took out of the Eternal movie, maybe what Marvel is doing is somewhere along the line there's going to be a big deviant attack on the Earth, and mutants come out of it or have or are part of that line. Some of them, like
No, Secret
Magneto,
Wars.
the Evil
They already,
Brotherhood,
they already they already have the storyline to do this. It's Secret Wars, right?
right?
The meshing of multiple universes and stuff, right? The war between the different dimensions, the different realities. That's how you can do it.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, because there are already a bunch of superheroes in the universe, and that are public heroes, and like I said, people collect their merchandise and stuff like that. But the whole point of the mutants, whether the X Men or X Factor, X Force, whatever they are, the whole point is they are persecuted by humanity.
Right.
So how do you work that?
Carefully.
Hard.
It will
Yeah,
take
that's difficult, I
crafting.
think.
They might have to do a time skip, to be honest. Once they introduce them, they may, because that's going to be a big moment. I would hope
I think
when
they
they
painted
finally
themselves into a corner, dude.
when they finally reveal these mutants or introduce them or whatever. That has to be a big, a huge moment in the MCU.
Right.
They can't just
Well,
brush over it. And when they do that, I wouldn't be surprised if they do another time skip. It doesn't have to be very long, maybe a year or two, and then you can say where that kind of stuff, that kind of animosity kind of grew, and you don't have to. It's a little bit easier to play with if it's already there. Is what I'm
yeah,
I,
saying.
no, yeah. Yeah,
so let me propose a scenario where they've existed for a period of time, but it was always a very extremely low population, and that they had, like sort of negative interactions with other entities like Shield or Hydra and stuff like that. That was kind of keeping them suppressed. But then now, post snapping with this like new generation growing up, the level of mutation kicks up a beat and it's much more present in the population, and that kicks into the whole new era of this stuff, right? I,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
no, yeah.
that's a possibility.
That is a possibility, and in all honesty, even though some of the Disney Plus has not really hit very well in some cases, and I get what Kevin Feige is doing, but in the end, we do have some pretty solid writers working for the MCU, and they're going to have to figure something out. I think the problem comes with this when we had Perlmutter and the other, back in the past with Disney and Iger and all that. The problem they had was is because Fox owned the rights to X Men. There certain members in the hierarchy at Disney were just hated it, and they were at war with them. Like I mentioned, with Perlmutter, and they tried to do everything they could to not talk about or use the mutants at all. Right, we saw kind of
Right.
a drop in mutant in comic books, and we saw them start to push the Inhumans a lot, and they almost retconned Marvel in a way for a little while anyway, with Inhumans being that whole mutated thing, not mutants, right? And I kind of think that they did because at that time they didn't know they were going to own Fox soon. And I
right.
think once they, because who did they get these movies started out where Paramount, and then Disney bought it. I think it was Paramount, right? And then or Universal, one of the I think it was Paramount, and then they bought it and they had it. And I just don't think that Disney knew they were going to have Fox and then get all the mutants back. And I think they painted themselves into a corner. And I'll be curious to see how Feige and his team work that shit out, because I really think they have put themselves in a little bit of a difficult position.
Yep, I agree. Now maybe they've already got it all sussed out. They've already got it all,
They probably do. Yeah,
mapped out and quarterbacked and whatever. They have a game plan. COVID obviously threw a monkey in a lot of people's wrenches.
it did.
So we may already have all these answers by now had that not happened. To be honest, because we're about a 2 years, year and a half behind thanks to COVID with the MCU stuff. So
Mhm.
we don't really know. Hopefully, it's smart when it comes out, and it's not just ham-fisted and haha, they're here now, and they
Yeah,
just move
no,
on.
I don't think Feige would allow that. And Elrod, yeah, I get what you're saying, because even post snap, the Avengers are still beloved, right? So, which is my point is, you have to have like the Brotherhood of the Evil Brotherhood, right? Do some major thing and become a major threat, and everyone's blaming this group. And who are they? Mutants? What's a mutant? They got to do something like that, right?
Yeah,
And then the X Men are formed to respond to it. So we're going to get it with, even though the multiverse aspect is doing a cameo with Patrick Stewart, I have a feeling, other than something like an ancient apocalypse or something, I think the mutants are going to be a new thing,
Yeah,
not an
could
old
be.
thing. Yeah,
I wouldn't be
yeah.
surprised if in this multiverse of madness, when he meets Patrick Stewart, meets Xavier, that it's mentioned that there's no mutants on his world, and that's
Yeah, it
weird.
might be.
Make that
Well,
be something that's cosmically very weird
well,
to
you
happen.
guys are telling me in Spider-Man, there's a lot of comments like that. You're not Peter. You're not Mary.
Right.
Whatever.
No, there are. Yeah,
Yeah,
there are a lot of comments like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, lots of interesting stuff today. We definitely got went hour and a half beyond my time. Jesus, dude. But that's okay. I have some work to do, but it's more prep stuff. So it's no big deal. But anyway, uh, good conversations today. A lot of fun news, dude.
Yeah,
There are some cool comics and cool things coming, and I love when we can talk about fun things. Sometimes things can get a little bit negative, and we don't want to dwell on that. We want to
yeah.
have a chuckle on it and move on to the cool thing. So I was very happy today that there were so many cool things to talk about. That's neat. Hopefully we'll see more and more of that. We'll definitely be back next week, and I will do another hero or maybe a villain spotlight, and we will talk about more comics, and hopefully there's even more to talk about. Nevertheless, thank you all for coming in. We appreciate you. Keep in mind that tomorrow we're continuing with Bill's or Argos Creations ICRPG run. It's a cyberpunk game. Although I will put the shout out now, and I'll do it more focused tomorrow. Coming up after we finish this, which probably be somewhere in here the end of February or March or whatever. But when we finish this little run that Bill's doing, I'm going to run a game. And I'm going to be running Heroes Unlimited, and I want to do a good long run. I'd like to get at least 6 months to a year, a good run, and I have a good idea of a story thing, and I want to do something different because one of the things I've always tried to do over here with role playing games is kind of introduce you guys to different stuff, right? Like we've done fifth edition, we've done ICRPG, we've done Marvel superheroes, we've done White Wolf, etc., etc. I want to show more and more stuff. I want to eventually do Cortex. I want to do Fake Core. I want to do some old school stuff like Heroes Unlimited, which I think is still one of the best games. I want to show off these things, Savage Worlds, for instance, and give you guys more examples of all the cool different kind of tabletop role playing you can do. So I am going to be doing that, and I give it a shout out because I need 4 players. 4. Now I'm sure GOP and Bill would definitely be in on it, so that probably leaves 2 seats, I'm assuming. But I do have one caveat because most of our games here we've been letting everybody come in and have big groups, and that's fine, that's fun too. But I want to do a real tight run here, so I only want 4 people, just 4 and me. And the caveat I'm putting on top of it is I want experienced gamers. So I have 2 seats. If you're interested in being involved, let me know. Put it on the Discord. Tell Bill, tell GOP, whatever. But I want 2 people, and I want gamers. Other than that, thank you all very much. And Ben, you got any kind of closing comments you'd like to give to the folks?
My closing comment is keep reading. You know,
Mm,
these only get better the more we read, and find something you love and keep with it.
that's true. That is true. And just make sure to feed a tree. All right. Thank you all very much. I'll see you next time. Thunder, take us out of here, man.
Very simple one of my favorite ones. It's a very simple little one sentence. Hating yourself is a low fate, a life lived dead. Love yourselves, be kind to yourselves, everybody.
Namaste. Very nice. Later.